Marie Curie?
Marie Curie.
Marie Curie?
Yeah.
She didn't invent anything.
She didn't invent anything. No, she discovered a few things, though.
I don't think she did. I think she just started a charity.
Calling all emos, computer programmers and blokes called Malcolm who still live with their mum.
Crikey, there must be more to life than this.
It's the revolutionary virtual human interface you can access without ever leaving your bedroom.
And what were you up to the other night? That's what I'd like to know.
How cool is that?
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. The Two Mics, Parry and Graham on Talk Sport.
We are the Two Mics, and it's time to say a very good morning and a very warm welcome to a newly rebuilt $100 million man or $600 man, Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And may I say, please, just to kick off the show, a very big thank you to all the hundreds, I think probably thousands of messages I've had over the last couple of days from well-wishers out there in the great wide world audience and the family of TalkSport listeners, the millions of you who have taken an interest in my rehabilitated heart.
Millions.
Without doubt.
I wouldn't say millions.
Without doubt, there's an
You're all right
millions
anyway,
out
that's the
there.
main thing.
For taking an interest in my... Just let me finish my soliloquy, please. Rehabilitated heart. It's very much appreciated, and you'll be delighted to know that with your support, I have had as close to a clean bill of health as a man with 1/3 of a heart can possibly have.
So, in other words, there's nothing wrong with you?
No.
There's nothing wrong with you.
I have not deteriorated. I mean, look, I've seen quite a few doctors over the last, say, 3 years, OK?
Yeah.
But this was a big one because I went to see Dr. Nicholas Banner himself.
Dr. Banner? How is Dr. Banner?
He is in great shape.
You don't want to make him angry.
He looks great. No, he's great. He gave me a lot of time today, and considering the pressures on people in of his calibre...
He's the guy with the Ferrari, isn't he?
No, he's not, no.
I thought you said he had a Ferrari.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. That was a guy at some private clinic in Wimbledon who I went to see one time, paid him a huge amount of money and was always a bit perturbed to see a 4-door Ferrari, which are very rare, parked on the driveway of his clinic. But that certainly is not Dr. Banner, no.
Okay.
No, Dr. Banner is genuinely one of the great medical brains of this country who often appears in medical papers, who has appeared in stories in the Daily Telegraph.
I'm in trouble getting to appear on the show.
Pioneer. Well, he won't because of patient confidentiality and all that, but I mean, he pioneers new methods of...
patient confidentiality. We had a picture of you all wired up with that Bane-like mask on.
Yeah, but that was me.
That was a cross between Bane and Hannibal Lecter.
No, that was. I tell you what that was. The nurse took the picture.
The nurse?
Yeah.
Is she nice?
Well, she was a very capable nurse. You know, they were all very capable at Harefield Hospital. Right. I want to thank the people at Harefield Hospital as well for their enormous dedication and hard work, which helps so many people in their lives, really does. But it was interesting. One thing, I mean, not going to go on about this, but one thing that...
Yeah, because you don't normally go on about your heart.
No, one thing Dr. Banner told me, and I'm sure I'm not breaking a confidence here, is that of the hundreds of patients he's got, there are 3, and I'm one of them, who came to him first in critical condition, which was how I was classified to start off with.
Yeah.
And were diagnosed...
This was many, many years ago, presumably.
This was in 2004,
right.
And diagnosed for transplant surgery. That's the category you go into, OK? And actually, as soon as possible, and you get onto the top of a priority list because it's looking pretty desperate, OK? Now... It's quite remarkable, but even the doctor remembers that when the surgeon who was going to do my heart transplant came into my ward and was sitting on the edge of the bed, there was a junior doctor there who, you know, they chatted. I mean, they talk to you as though you're not there, you know what I mean? They're trying to find out. The last thing a doctor wants to do is give you a heart transplant. Yeah. Quite seriously. It's the biggest invasion you can possibly impose upon the human body, and if they can find an alternative form of treatment, 1 in 6 people have a heart transplant don't survive the operation. Yeah. That's an amazing statistic, which people don't realise. So if they can avoid it, they will. Anyway, point of my story is...
What is the point of the story? He hasn't sped up the point of your story any much, has he?
No, what he told me was, I'm one of the 3 patients he's got from the hundreds of people he's treated over the years who came to see him diagnosed critical and who are still alive and kicking today without having had that transplant surgery.
Right.
He can't explain it.
You're saying it's some kind of medical miracle?
Well, the day that the surgeon came in to see me to talk about the operation, there was another junior doctor there who said, why don't we try digoxin? Now, digoxin is a little tablet, right, little pill, and I think it's a beta blocker or something, and I was going to take that in addition to one called carvedilol, which I already take. after taking that, after 3 weeks, I was so much better. I was able to get out of bed. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there is no magic solution to the drugs that doctors can give you to make you better, but sometimes a combination of them, because there are literally thousands of drugs, right? A combination of some of them come together and suddenly it works for you, and it's worked for me ever since. And it was a medical miracle. Of the other three, one other person is still living a normal life like me. But the third of the three, there's the other person who's okay, there's me. The third of the three, after 10 years of living a normal life, he suddenly reverted back to critical,
right.
And I believe he's still in that condition.
So he may have to have an operation.
He needs one. I mean, this is the point. But
Right.
you know how rare organs are these
Right.
days, and not enough people...
So to sum up, there's nothing wrong with you?
No, to sum up, I am lucky to be able to lead close to a normal
Right,
life,
okay.
but with restrictions on alcohol imbibement and
Did
all
he
that
put
kind of
restrictions
stuff.
on that then?
Well, there's always been restrictions on that. But
I've
that's-
noticed that, yeah.
That's only because of the combination of drugs and the care and the guidance I've had from Dr. Banner over all these years.
Right.
And for that, I'm eternally grateful. He's a great man.
Well, now that you've taken one night off sick,
Yes,
obviously
that's right,
we're way
yeah.
behind on the show.
Yeah,
So
sure,
we've got
yeah.
to do winners and losers.
Yes,
and
that's
we've got to
fine.
do Ask Porky. We're going to
Good
cover an
idea.
awful lot of ground.
Yeah.
So we can't have any of this kind of mealy-mouthed, point of the story nonsense.
no.
We're
no.
going to have to get on
No,
with
let's
stuff.
get down
and we're
to
going to
it,
have to
yeah.
be very, very fast.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have to be quick. We've got the FA Cup semi-final
We
tonight.
certainly have.
Manchester United playing at West Ham. The
Yeah.
winners of which will play Everton.
They will.
Presumably. We've got Everton playing tonight in that game that we were meant to go to at the end of the week.
That's right.
Which has been moved to this.
It's a week on. We should have been there a week on Saturday.
A week on Saturday, that's right, yeah.
Instead of which, a week on Saturday is the Everton semi-final
That's right, yeah.
against either West Ham or Manchester United, who play tonight.
So it's all happening. Manchester City have got themselves through to the semi-finals.
Delighted
of
for
the Champions
Manchester
League.
City.
Yeah.
Well done. Delighted for Manchester City.
I knew you would be.
I fly the flag in England, in Europe, an English club. It's brilliant. Well done.
You got some grief earlier from a Liverpool fan who said, it's not just Manchester City that flying the flag in Europe, because
Yeah.
Liverpool are still in it as well,
Yeah, but everybody knows, including Everton fans and including Liverpool fans, my disregard for the Europa League or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
Europa Cup, Europa League
Europa
or whatever,
League, yeah.
is such that I really don't have the same interest in it as I do in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Quite as simple as that.
Yes.
So I'm not dissing Liverpool. Liverpool have done well. If they win it, I will congratulate them. But frankly, the major competition is the Champions League. It would be utterly marvellous if another English club could put its name on that Champions League
Yes.
trophy. How many English clubs have won the European Cup and League? Manchester United first.
The European Cup.
Yeah, European Cup Champions League. Manchester United,
Yeah.
Aston Villa,
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest,
Yeah.
Liverpool, of
Yeah.
course,
Many times.
Chelsea,
Yeah.
and I'm missing an obvious one somewhere.
Well, not Arsenal.
Well, Arsenal lost in the final in
did.
Paris in 2006. I was there
I think that's it.
when the goalkeeper got
But
sent off.
since it's been the Champions League,
Yeah.
it's only been Manchester United and Chelsea, isn't it?
No, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Liverpool.
Oh, of course.
Liverpool, of course. Yeah, in Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so three.
Three, that's right. So delighted with all that. But the highlight of the night for me, I mean, I was delighted that Manchester City got through, and I saw the game, saw the De Bruyne goal and all that.
Well, it makes all those
brilliant.
Paris Saint-Germain comments about, Ibrahimovic coming to play in a lower league.
In a low league.
Makes it look ridiculous.
It was all
doesn't it?
rubbish. I said from the start, City will get through this. I said they'll draw in France, and I thought they'd win more convincingly. I also said last week, if you remember, that Real Madrid would beat Wolfsburg 4-0.
You did.
And they beat them 3-0.
Yeah.
So I got that almost perfectly right. But
Almost
the highlight...
perfectly right, but not quite.
Yeah, exactly. But the highlight of the night for me was Ronaldo. I mean, this man is he's just beyond being a human being
Yeah, I know.
footballer, isn't he?
That's 3 hat-tricks in one tournament,
I mean,
right?
you just simply couldn't make him up. If his name was Roy of the Rovers,
Yeah.
you still wouldn't believe it, would
No,
you? You
I know.
wouldn't. He's just a phenomenon, an
But
absolute
it makes
phenomenon.
you wonder what Real Madrid will be like once he leaves, though. because
Well, it does
maybe they won't be
actually.
very
Yeah,
good.
I read a fantastic piece on the whole situation at Real Madrid last week, and I can't remember who the lad was who wrote this. I think it was in the Guardian, and he said that the trouble with the relationship between Ronaldo and the rest of the team is, while the rest of the team gives some time to Bale, to
Right.
Gareth Bale,
Yeah.
Ronaldo regards Gareth Bale as his personal ball butler, which I thought was a brilliant expression.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You know.
Just pass it to
Yeah,
me.
that's right. Yeah. Just put it on a plate for me, pal, because that's what you are, my personal ball butler, which I think was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, the other thing we've got to talk about,
Yeah.
of course, which is also bizarrely sort of happenstance at the same time as all your heart business going on, is this poor guy James Taylor.
Well, do you know what?
The cricketer who's having to give up the game because of a heart problem. Age 26.
It's utterly astonishing. Whilst I've been in Harefield, I've not been allowed access to my information device, right?
Really? Well, no journals or anything?
No journals or nothing, no.
So there'll be big gaps in your knowledge there.
No, I don't think so. But there's a lot of young doctors at Harefield who played cricket at their universities.
Right.
And one of them came to me today and said, I've got an amazing story to tell you. I said, and I actually wasn't that familiar with James Taylor, like you. I thought it might have been the singer or something like that. But anyway, he explained to me this 26-year-old. I said, I can't believe it. They said, the very day that you come in here, some poor, professional cricketer lads had to give it up. And I said, what's he got? And they explained the sort of condition he had. Yeah. It's not the left chamber of the heart.
Mwamba, isn't it?
It's the right-hand chamber. Yeah. And that's the one where you can drop dead, if you exert yourself too much in physical sport and all that kind of stuff. So, unfortunately, he's had to give it up, and it's very, very sad, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very sad indeed.
We'll talk some more about that, because we're running late already, and we're already one day late, so we're going to have to try and make up some time. He is Porky Parry. He is rejuvenated. He's been rebuilt. There's nothing wrong with him. I'm Mike Graham. This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Loads more coming up in the show, of course. There'll be a podcast tomorrow. We're doing Ask Porky, and we're doing Winners and Losers as well. And, of course, lots and lots of big stories to talk about. A lot of people are asking this question, so I might as well get it out of the way. Yeah. A lot of people having seen that picture of you fighting fit on the old treadmill.
I was hardly fighting fit.
Well, you're wired up to all kinds of monitors, and you've got some kind of mask on. Your eyes are closed. People are saying, where are the scars? But I've been trying to explain to people that there are no scars because you've never had the operation.
No, I've never had a heart transplant operation, obviously. What you have like procedures, and they're things to try and monitor your heart. The insertion into the body goes through the thigh, and it's a cable that goes right up through your main arteries into your heart with a camera on the end of it, which can look into your heart.
Right.
I mean, it's an amazing. You can be lying there literally on the bed with all the monitors above you, and you actually see the inside of your own heart.
Really?
I mean,
could you see it?
Yeah, I could.
What did it look like?
Well,
did it look like only a third of it was working?
Well, it looks a bit dark. It's like looking into a volcano, to be honest. And you need a very
dark.
Yeah, well, you need.
Well, of course, it's dark. There's no light in there.
Yeah, exactly. You need. I know that's pretty obvious.
What would you expect?
It's you need a trained eye. Yeah. Well, no, but the camera has got a light on it. If you see what I mean.
It's like watching one of those undersea exploration.
Yeah, it is.
Videos,
Yeah. And only
the Mariana Trench.
Only a trained eye can actually tell. What's going on. Hey,
could you see it beating?
Oh, yes, you can see it moving in and out. Yeah, you can, yeah. But, I mean, again, you need a trained eye to work that out. What is most interesting is, on that picture, which people saw today, and I got some very rude comments about my physical shape. You have to understand that's not my normal physical shape. Right. That's the shape that my body assumes when I'm on a treadmill,
what's your normal physical shape? A lot of people also doubted the 82 kilograms that you claimed you weighed the other day.
Well, I was weighed continually over the 36 hours, that I was there, and
some have actually asked if there's been an updated weight scenario.
It wasn't entirely accurate, I have to agree. Now, the other thing I was going to say is, the other thing is, because the reason my body looked a bit odd is because
it is a bit odd.
No, it's because of this.
Right.
The stickers that were stuck all over your body can only be stuck on, but the human hair gets in the way, so I had to have a body shave.
Oh, dear.
I mean, I didn't do it, somebody else did it, but they shave all your hair off.
Who did that for you then? Nurse Ratchet.
Yeah, it was a nurse, actually. Yeah. And they used to do it with a sort of wet razor. They now do it with an electric one. And then you can feel all,
So it's all stubbly now?
It's all stubbly, yeah, I'm afraid, yeah.
Well, that's more information than I needed, really.
Well, I just thought I'd let you know that.
Well, it looks like there's still some hair on you.
Not where they put the stickers, you see what I mean?
They're not giving them another name other than stickers. They're not stickers,
I don't know what they are. They're
do they give you like a thanks for coming in, like a lollipop or something when you leave?
No, anything like that. No, what do you want that for?
Or a sticker that, because they give them to kids, like I survived, a weekend with Dr. Banner or something.
What you notice in that picture is a wide armband, which you have to wear all the time you're there, because it's got a computer-like thing on it, so that if you...
It's a bit like when you go to all those all-inclusive resorts.
It is, but
you get a drink at any bar.
No, it identifies you all the time. Right. So, for instance, if I'd suddenly gone mad because, running on the treadmill had sent too much blood to my brain, and I suddenly sort of walked out, and I had all these leads trailing off my body and all that.
Well, I think people would probably think, here's a guy with leads all over him walking outside Harefield Hospital. Maybe we should return him there.
Sure, but they'd then be able to find out who I am by applying their computer to the wristband to find out who I am.
You'd immediately tell them. I'm Mike Parry from Talk Sport.
Oh, but I might not be able to. I might be so confused, with the exertion and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it can happen. Yeah. It can happen. You've got to be very careful with these things because, things can change at an alarmingly quick rate.
So what did you miss when you were in there then? You must have missed the whole business with the tax debate in the House of Commons.
I didn't even know there was one.
Dennis Skinner calling David Cameron dodgy Dame, getting thrown out of the chamber.
To be honest, if I'd have been aware of it, I wouldn't have watched that sort of stuff.
Did you miss the Masters? Did you watch the Masters?
Now, let me see. I was able to watch the Masters up until
that was Sunday night.
Yeah, until about 8 o'clock on Sunday night, at 9 o'clock. I thought Spieth was going to win and went to bed, I think, basically.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Bad idea.
And I didn't know very much about the lad who did win. What's his name? David... Danny Whittle.
Danny Willett.
Danny Willett, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
Danny Whittle.
Yeah.
David Whittle.
No, Danny Willett.
Yeah, no, he's a superstar now.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic.
It is.
Interesting story, isn't it? Rory fell away as well. Strange. Yeah. But there you go. Anyway, listen, we've got so many things to talk about. We're going to get talking, OK? Now, what I'm going to talk to you about, really, is my greatest fear tonight is that West Ham beat Manchester United, which I think they will.
Well, I think they will,
and then they're going to be such formidable opponents for Everton in the semi-final.
Well, Louis van Gaal has been in a pretty bad mood ever since that loss at the weekend.
I managed to do a bit of reading, actually, whilst I was incapacitated.
Oh, did you?
It's the only thing you can do, although you can't have your information device in case it interferes with all the monitors around
you wouldn't want that, yeah.
No.
So should you read some newspapers, you mean?
Well, what I picked up on was the discontent in the Manchester United dressing room.
Apparently so.
And, we said the other day we couldn't understand why somebody kept going into the dressing room. Who was it?
It was Bobby Charlton.
Bobby Charlton. Yeah. What I also read is that Ed Woodward is a regular visit to the dressing room after the United games.
Why would you want him in there?
To pep up the morale of the players.
Well, after they've been slaughtered?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. But
it was the guy you want to see.
Sorry? Just the guy you want to see, yeah. But it was very interesting that the players now have turned on Louis van Gaal and said, what do you keep blaming us for? Yeah. Because their main beef seems to be that his tactics in the second half against Spurs was so poor that the players came off the field with their head spinning, confused, not knowing what to do.
But also for months and months and months, various pundits have analysed the way that they play and have said, look, there's a reason why this player isn't doing what you think he should do, because he gets to this point and he gives the ball away. And Van Gaal's obviously telling them to stay in these various zones and not do anything that he's told them not to do.
You're absolutely right. Now, listen, I'll tell you what was interesting, right, because I read this in an obituary column. Mr. Nice has died.
Mr. Nice has?
Yeah.
Howard Marks.
Yeah. Now, I believe there's a big debate that we should
Well, you killed him off before that, didn't you? Because a few weeks ago, we thought he was already dead.
Well, I think I'd read he got cancer or something. I assumed he'd died, but he's really died now. Now, the point is, this guy's been portrayed in a number of obituaries in one way or the other. One is, this extrovert hippie who was a genius student at Oxford and then, misused his intelligence to become the world's biggest dealer in marijuana. Yeah. Or was he, a terribly evil, wicked guy who's exposed thousands of people to the evils of drug taking, which may have started marijuana, probably ended up on hard drugs?
Was that Peter Hitchens' view?
Well, it wasn't Peter Hitchens' view. Because
I bet it is his view.
Well, Peter Hitchens' view is that marijuana is only the start of drug problems, which lead to insanity, to brain death, literally,
he would know, wouldn't he?
And ruination. Yeah. But actually, Geoffrey Levy, one of our old friends, dope dealer Howard Marks, who's died at 70, was seen by Liberals as a folk hero. The truth is very different. Yeah. Mr. Nice,
well, you'd expect this from the Daily Mail, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know. You'd expect it from Geoffrey, maybe. No, a self-regarding cynic who didn't care his vile trade ruined lives. He enjoyed being referred to as Britain's most famous drug smuggler. He wore his self-styled sobriquet, Mr. Nice, like a flashing halo. But 1 million people bought his cult autobiography, Mr. Nice. You'll like him, trumpeted the blurb on the cover. Thousands, though, flocked to hear his lectures promoting cannabis. So was Howard Marks, who's died of cancer age 70, a good guy? Or was he, in fact, the unsavoury proof that with enough chutzpah and charm...
Chutzpah?
Yeah... And he had both in plenty. It's not all that difficult to hoodwink people in search of a hero. That's the view of Geoffrey Levy.
Well, what's your view? Never mind what his view is.
My view is that anybody dealing in drugs in the quantity that he did... I read his book, Bo. Have you read his book?
No.
I mean, this guy was dealing in tons of the stuff. He was actually hiring tankers to take the volume of cannabis he had around the world, and that's why he eventually got locked up by the FBI in America for 7 years. And that was interesting, actually. Do you know how he got through that?
How?
His sentence was 14 years.
Right.
And you know, like in America, you don't get time off or anything. The judge says 14, you do 14.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It was like a plea bargain. I mean, he was going to get life without parole and all that. So plea bargaining like a 14. Anyway, every time he was moved from prison to prison, they move him all the time in America. You know, there's that film. What's that film called? Con Air, was it?
Con Air.
Is that about moving prisoners around on aeroplanes?
No, it wasn't quite as complicated as that.
I think it is, isn't it?
No.
There was a film about moving prisoners around on aeroplanes. One of the aeroplanes crashed and they all got away.
Yeah.
What was that
But
called?
it wasn't just about that, though.
All right, whatever. But anyway, Howard Marks, because he was thoroughly British and an Oxford student and all that kind of stuff, was drug dealers have to have regular body searches because they are so crafty at concealing drugs about their person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say no more.
Say no more. No need to go into details.
And all that kind of stuff. So he had to endure humiliating searches every time he was moved, not only from jail to jail, but from one part of a jail to another part of a jail.
Right.
Or if he went out of the jail, you know, because he had to go and have his teeth done or something like that. You know what I mean? Humiliating searches all the time. But the prison staff were so impressed by this Englishman, who was the most polite prisoner they'd ever had.
Right. Well, they don't normally get prisoners like this, do they?
Who had always said please and thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to have bothered you.
Yeah.
And I am really appalled at myself being such a nuisance to you guys and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They came to love him.
But he couldn't have run a massive drugs empire without having a few heavies on the side.
Well,
could he?
if you read his book, he didn't have any heavies.
Yeah, I don't
he had a
believe
few
that.
drunken guys in Ireland who claimed to be in the IRA and all this kind of stuff, you know. And
but you can't run a massive illicit business without having, you know, enforcers to make sure nobody nicks it from you.
I totally agree. I mean, if you watched The Night Manager, right? He appeared very suave on the outside, but had a gang of killers around him for obvious reasons.
Exactly.
So you would think
because if you've got like $1 million worth of marijuana or cocaine or something in a tanker,
absolutely,
what's to stop somebody nicking it from you?
No, I totally agree with you. But the one thing that most impressed me was, so eventually he was released because he was just so nice. That's what I was called, Mr. Nice.
Yeah.
So they took him to the airport, put him on a plane to London. It didn't give him any money or anything.
Yeah.
But on the way back, he managed to charm the hostess into upgrading him into business class.
Right.
And charm her further to give him 7 bottles of wine. Yeah. Red wine on the way home because he hadn't had an alcoholic drink for 7 years. Right. And he arrived in London completely out of his face.
Flatterated.
Trying to tell people that he was a prisoner released from American jails. Nobody would believe him.
Right.
No, it was great.
And he started the business again. So
he started the business again.
He was a man of much guile, you'd have to say.
Indeed.
There's lots of interesting stories around tonight, including that one about John Whittingdale, which we might talk about coming up in a little while
My friend.
well. Your friend, John Whittingdale.
I know John.
Apparently he went out with a dominatrix and didn't realise.
Until she brought out the cane.
Well, you would imagine so. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
Hey! The sun goes down like a bad, bad dream. You end up tight, gotta let off steam. They say they can break you again and again. If life is a radio, turn up to 10. These are crazy, 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 crazy nights.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads and loads are coming up in
What's that?
This is that song?
Yes.
Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights. Yeah. Who sings
it's
that?
One of those sort of American metal bands.
Yeah. Who sings it?
I can't remember.
Well, why are you playing
it
then?
Well, I'm not playing it. I don't have control over the music, do I?
No, but I mean, you know, I'd like to know what the connection is between the music we play and what we're talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What are you asking me for?
Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights, yeah. It's one of those horrible American sort of, you know, metal, pretend metal bands.
Yes.
They've all got long hair and they do videos of models stretching over cars and stuff like that.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
It's all very boring
now,
stuff.
there's work to be...
I've got some tweets for you here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Joe says, I went to see Aircon at the pictures, but I had to leave halfway through because it was too cold.
It's too cold. Yeah, I like that.
Very good.
I like somebody who's got a joke, even if it's a pathetic joke at 1:32 in the morning.
David in Essex says, Porky, I got the OK from the hospital. It's bad news. It's an OK for a 45-year-old, 5'10", 13-stone man. I presume he's not that.
What's that? Sorry, I don't quite know.
Well, he says he got the OK from the hospital.
Who got the OK?
This guy, David in Essex, who's texted
Well,
us
has he got a problem?
I don't know. He's only sent me a text. What am I? Some kind of, seer of the future?
Well, I don't understand why you're reading out a text which is meaningless.
Well, how's it meaningless? He says, look, good news, I got an OK from the hospital.
Yeah,
the bad news is it's an OK for a 45-year-old, 5'10", 13-stone man. So obviously he's not that.
Oh, what is he then?
Well, he's obviously younger than that, probably shorter than that, and maybe not as heavy as that.
I mean, if I'd have read that, I'd have said, what did you get the OK for? Delivering the sandwiches? Or has he got some sort of medical condition?
When you say you get the OK from a hospital, it means you got the OK because your health is OK.
Well, I assume that, but I'd like to know what his problem is.
It's a bit like our old friend Don Mackay,
Yeah.
who, when he was about 53,
Yes.
Was told that he had the perfect body for a 65-year-old.
Yeah, of course.
Now, that would be good news, bad news, wouldn't it? You've got the perfect body, but actually you're not that old.
That's right, yeah. OK,
Why give me such a hard time for?
No, I'm delighted, but I'd like a bit more information. I mean...
I haven't got any more information.
He might have got the OK because he's got an ingrown toenail. On the other hand, he might have got the OK because they've removed a brain tumour and he's going to be happily fit for the rest of his life,
You think about it any way you like.
I would like to know a little bit more.
How about this from Simon in Sheffield?
Yeah.
Great show at the dance house. You met me and Mrs. Simon from Sheffield afterwards. A highlight for me and for lots of other people in the bar, Mr. Parry's foil trouser wardrobe malfunction.
Well,
one of many great moments.
Well, that was hardly a malfunction. In fact, funny enough, since I debuted them on the stage at the dance house, I've seen 2 or 3.
Well, you put them on here first, didn't you?
Yes, I did,
week.
yeah. I've seen 2 or 3 popular fashion pictures saying that I've got it absolutely right and that it certainly is. It certainly is.
Somebody sent me a picture of a tin foil thong, actually, which I didn't want to show you.
Oh, no, thanks. Don't want anything to do with that. No. Now, listen, I'll tell you something which I found out whilst I was lying there contemplating life and all that.
Yeah.
I've got to do something about my ducks.
What?
The Duck Conservancy. I've got a newsletter and all that kind of stuff.
Apparently, I've got a dead rabbit in the garden I've got to sort out.
How do you know this?
What do you mean, how do I know it?
Yeah.
Because I was informed by the people that occupy my garden when I'm not there, i.e. my family.
Oh, OK. Well, so there is a dead rabbit then?
Yes.
Well, what's the apparently bit then? Don't you know the way to use English language? Apparently means you're not sure.
Well, no, it doesn't mean you're not sure. It's a way of explaining the story to you.
No,
apparently there's a dead rabbit in my garden, i.e. I have learned that there's a dead rabbit in my garden. That's what it actually means.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't know the meaning of it.
Yeah, I do know the meaning.
What are you going to do to get rid of it?
Well, I'm going to have to go and get rid of it because nobody else is allowed to. Nobody else wants to.
Well, in case it's diseased.
Well, apparently there was an attempt to throw it over the hedge, but it failed. So it's now stuck in the hedge.
I want it buried. You've got to bury it.
I'm not burying a rabbit.
You've got to bury a rabbit.
Why?
Otherwise,
Yeah, chuck it over the fence.
Foxes and things will go after it.
Well, it's already had its eyes pecked out by the birds.
Oh, I don't want to know that.
Why not?
I
Well, it's
can't
life
stand that.
It's life in the country.
I don't want to know that.
What's wrong with you?
That's terrible. That's
what
awful.
happens.
Well, you should have buried it as soon as it was dead.
Well,
It's
I wasn't
terrible.
there, was I?
Is there not dignity in the life and death
No,
of a rabbit?
There. I wasn't there to bury it.
Well, you should have made preparations for it, because this is what I'm going to tell you.
I should have just been there on the off chance that a rabbit might die in the garden.
This is what I'm going to tell you, right? At this time of the year, and I've only just found this out this year, we have to make provisions to get more female ducks around than drakes.
How do you do that, then?
Well, you've got to sort of weigh up the balance. You know why? Drakes...
Well, it's something to do with the mating process, I would imagine.
Well, you're absolutely right. Drakes have too much energy for a single female companion. And
what do you mean for the Rogerising area?
Yeah, the Rogerising area. They're mass Rogerisers, drakes, right? I mean, they are really, they go at it like rabbits.
Well,
just
ducks,
talking about rabbits, but they're ducks, right?
Right.
And we've been given advice from a specialist. There should be a ratio of 1 drake for between 3 and 5 ducks.
Right.
That's what's recommended, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it that way, you're going to...
But how can you sort of gerrymander the ducks population, if you like?
Well, you've got to put in more ducks and
well, where'd you get them from? Were you supposed to import them from somewhere else?
Well, there's 2 or 3 ponds which we have, what's the word I'm looking? Domination over. No, not domination. What is
domination.
it?
We have domination over the ponds.
No. What is it? Control.
You have control over
control of 2 or 3 ponds, and we can move them around. And
well, how would you move them, though?
Well, you pick them out and put them in
the back of the car.
Well, not like... No, like...
Come along, Ms. Mallard.
No, you put them in like a net-like device.
A net-like device?
And carry
like a
them
net?
to the other one. Yeah, like a net,
Well, that's not very... That's traumatic.
No, it's not.
They might get to the other end and not feel like it, then.
No, it's all right.
It might upset their libido.
If you don't have enough space for more ducks, physical separation of the couple is the only humane answer.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, ducks can get badly injured by the continual harassment of over-amorous drakes. So unless you make 5 ducks available to one drake.
Continual harassment. But
Yeah.
surely once they've had their way with one of these ducks, they've moved on, haven't they?
No, they go back if there's no other ducks around. So
Right.
it's mega
Well, what's wrong with that?
Rogerisation. Well, what's wrong with that is that you shouldn't indulge in physical activity in a sexual way for prolonged periods of time.
Why?
You physically damage the person you're rogerising. That's why. and no, it's what's your problem? I mean, it's
Why
true.
would you physically damage them?
Well, because you give them too much physical contact.
Right.
And, it can be extremely arduous for a female duck to be permanently rogerised for hours on end. Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to ask John Whittingdale.
I think you better explain this John Whittingdale line.
When he went out with this woman, he says he met on Match.com.
Now, John Whittingdale, of course, is the Minister for Culture.
No, he's now in the cabinet, right?
Yeah, he is in the
and
cabinet.
he says
yeah.
this took place when he was involved in the he was head of the culture and sport and media, whatever it was.
He's Culture Secretary now.
Yeah, but he was head of the select committee when he wasn't in the cabinet when this was going on. He
Right.
says 2 years ago.
Right.
And he met this woman on Match.com because he was divorced, and the inference being he can go out with anyone he likes.
Yes.
But it turns out there's been a story doing the rounds that he was with this woman who was actually a dominatrix.
Right.
Right.
And is she?
He's claiming that he didn't know she was a dominatrix.
Well, and he's been going out with her for a year,
He said he went out with her for quite a period of time,
Yeah.
and at no stage did he realise that she was in fact a dominatrix.
Really?
But the story is
What happened when she, opened the cupboard and there was a load of whips and canes and
when
things
she
in it?
chained him to the basement dungeon. Yeah.
No, we don't know any of that went
No,
on.
of course not. No. But he
no.
may have felt the same way. I mean, some men actually feel that way. I don't know why you're making it just a female thing.
Feel-
Some men
feel what?
feel that they've been over-rogerised and get a bit tender, and they sometimes feel the need to stop.
Yeah, so what's that
I know
to do
that's
with
never
John
happened to you.
Whittingdale? What has that got to do with John Whittingdale? What do you...
Well, it's nothing to do with John Whittingdale. It's to do with the general principle that you're discussing.
Yes.
Which is that ducks apparently can be over-rogerised.
They can.
And they can feel a bit sore.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Well, that happens to
yeah.
everyone. It's not just
Well-
it's not a female thing.
Well,
it can be
you
a
s-
male thing.
Well, you say that, but I mean, it's never happened to you.
Yeah, of course it has.
What? The
Well, you can
demands-
overdo it.
But
you can just overdo it.
Is that because of the demand of your female partner?
it can
at the
be?
time?
Yeah, can be.
No, I can't believe that.
Can't believe it.
What
Why not?
woman would want you to over-rogerise her? eh?
Well, I could give you a list if you like.
No, you couldn't. No, that's a nonsense.
could.
That is the worst claim you've ever made
It's
in
not. It's
all
just
the
a factual
years of
situation.
live broadcasting
It's just a
with me.
factual situation.
That's utter nonsense,
You,
honestly.
because you're such a sexist, assume that it's
No.
always the man that wants
No.
more sex than the woman. That's not
no,
true.
I've never
There's
never
loads
said
of women.
that.
There's
What
loads of women who will tell
object-
you that they don't get enough sex from their partner.
Well, what I utterly refuse to accept is that you are such a babe magnet that women are, banging the doors and putting chairs up against them, not letting you out the bedroom, and demanding more physical,
I wouldn't quite go that far.
more physical rogerisation from you.
Well, it's something that has happened in the past.
Really?
Yeah.
How many times?
Well, I didn't write them down.
Really?
I didn't write them down. Why has this come as such a shock to you?
Well,
Look at the state of you.
No.
I mean, just because you've only spent the square root of about a quarter of your life actually rogerising anything.
Well, I'm not a sex maniac, and I'm not obsessed with sex like you are.
I'm not either.
And yet, you seem to think it's a great thing to be entertained by a lady who wants you to permanently.
No, all I'm
you
saying is that it can go both
indulge
ways.
in physical activity.
It can go both ways.
Of the Kama Sutra nature.
Your duck conservancy theories may all be up the spout because there may be plenty of male ducks who don't feel that they want to rogerise like mad, as you put it.
Well, I mean, this is becoming a bit of a shocking conversation, really, considering this is a family show. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, funnily enough, talking about a family show, I've got a card from young Flynn,
Oh, right.
which I'm going to read out to you in a little while. But we haven't got any time to do it right now.
Right.
But we will get to it very shortly. Ready?
Live Championship football with Brentford FC. This Saturday afternoon at 3. The Bees take on Bristol City at Griffin Park. Adult tickets are available from £23 and kids tickets are just £6. No booking fees apply online. Buy yours now at brentfordfc.co.uk.
Prostate Cancer UK has one ambition: to stop men dying from prostate cancer. To help stop prostate cancer from being a killer, search Men United now.
As every sports person knows, timing is everything. It can be the difference between standing on the podium and going home empty-handed. It can be the difference between a sweet first touch that finds the corner of the net and the missed kick that ends up in row Z. And when it comes to hereditary hair loss, timing is vital as well. Because the earlier you start using Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, the higher your chances of success. An estimated 7.5 million men in the UK experience hereditary hair loss, many of them before they're 35. But fortunately, Regain is on hand with all the information and support you need to help you separate the facts from the fiction. If you've noticed you're starting to lose your hair, you need to understand exactly why it's happening and what you can do about it. And now Regain has an app that gives you support and advice to track your progress and maintain your twice-daily routine. Download the Regain for Men iPhone app from the App Store today and start separating the facts from the fiction at regain.co.uk. Regain contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Macho Duck. Oh, he is a manly sensation. Macho Duck. He's a macho Duck.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Becky says it's typical sexism from Porky. Blame a lack of female ducks, not the over-randy male ducks. Awareness programme for male ducks may be required.
Not at all.
Steve says, what do you call a duck on drugs? Putting it together with the old Mr. Nice story.
Yeah.
A quackhead.
A quackhead. I like that. Well done. OK.
Here's one from Jamal, who says, oh, no, Porky starts on blabbering about ducks. Not much of blooded mod during weekends. Porky was drinking as if it was the end of life.
Where?
How does he know that?
Where was that?
Oh, I don't know. He doesn't say.
He's probably talking about Manchester, when in fact my alcohol intake was incredibly restrained.
It was restrained, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. As you said, it was the first show you'd done sober, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was, actually, and therefore I'm going to draw up a report of how it went.
Really?
Because for the first time you'll be able to remember. No, folks, honestly, that's only a joke.
What did you give yourself when you got home in the diary?
I gave myself 10 out of 10.
Did you?
I thought it was the best show we've ever done.
Excellent.
I was very, very...
How much what did you give me? Or did you do
I gave you a 10 out of 10 as well. Yeah, I did, yeah.
Kind.
I thought the audience were fantastic. Thank you for a very responsive crowd at the Roundhouse. The
dance house.
Sorry, the dance house. That's right, yeah. So we'll do the Roundhouse later. That's in London. We got a very nice note from the organisers at the dance house saying thank you very much, because apparently at least 50% of the audience who went to the dance house that night had never visited the dance house before. Yeah. And the point he was making is that largely they depend on a core audience who come to see their productions. Yes. But we managed to drag in an awful lot of people.
A new breed.
Yeah, who he hopes, and we hope as well, will visit the dance house on a more regular basis, you know.
Yeah. I think they also did a little bit better at the bar than they normally do as well, to be honest.
They did. I got a note saying that the returns on the bar were actually, excellent.
Record, I think.
Record, that's right. So we're all very pleased about that.
We are. Now, let's not keep Mr. Adrian Heath waiting any longer, because that's enough self-aggrandisement and patting ourselves on the back.
Indeed.
If you're a Manchester City player, former player and fan, you must be patting yourselves on the back as well. Adrian, very good morning to you.
How you doing, fellas?
Yeah, very well indeed. What a great night for Manchester City. A massively disappointing night if you're Zlatan Ibrahimovic and any PSG player who said that he'd be taking a step down to come to the Premier League, eh?
Yeah, I think that might have been a little bit of tongue-in-cheek knowing Zlatan, but everybody knows. I think one of the biggest problems that PSG have is that they find the league so easy for themselves. When they get to this stage, the fourth time in the trot now, they've gone out at this sort of stage, then the jump is too big for them, and I think they're getting caught out. So, but it was a great night for City, and I was really pleased for everybody there, especially Pellegrini, because I think it's been a really difficult year for him. Obviously finding out halfway through the year that somebody's coming in to take your job, and I think he's handled the situation with great dignity, and he's got on with his job, and who knows now, if he could hopefully get somebody like Benfica, then we never know.
Well, you never know. He could be playing the man who's going to take over the hot seat at Manchester City in the final, Adrian, which would be the ultimate irony, wouldn't it? But, Adrian, may I turn, please, away from fixtures from last night and turn to a fixture tonight, which is a critical fixture.
Hang on.
Yes?
Well, you're going to move away from Manchester City and straight on to Everton.
Yes, I am, yes.
We haven't finished yet with the Manchester City.
Why haven't you finished with it?
Well, because they've just got into the Champions League semi-final for the first time ever.
And we've discussed it with Adrian, and he's agreed.
Well, for
it was
a minute.
Fantastic performance.
Oh, yeah, but I'd like him to say a bit more about it.
OK, well, please ask him.
Adrian, I'm sorry about this, Adrian. I mean, he's on one-track mind. He's been in hospital, so, I mean, I'm not sure if they removed a third of his brain while he was in there as well. But let's talk a bit...
What more would you like to say about Manchester City, then?
Well, I'd like to ask him what he thinks about the unusual nature of the Champions League this season, right? Because we've got... As you said, Adrian, Bayern Munich only one goal up against Benfica. Barcelona, on a terrible run at the moment, might end up losing to Atletico Madrid. Yeah. I mean, is it possible that City could... What would be the best draw for them, do you think?
I think either one, if the wins are upsets tomorrow. I think Benfica can actually get a result, and I honestly believe that at home Atletico Madrid can win the game 1-0 because they're so well organised and difficult to break down. And with that crowd and the Vicente Calderon, I know it's going to be really, really difficult. So, who knows? It could be one of them years that there's a bit of a shock, and you could end up with Man City, Atletico Madrid, and Benfica in the semi-final, and everybody would be fancying the chances then.
Absolutely right. Because, of course, when Chelsea won it, they didn't really do what anybody expected them to do either. Nobody would have given Chelsea half a chance.
They won it by accident
in the semi-final, would they?
No, but it's one of them things. Once you get to this stage in the competition, and I think that City now, I don't think they match up well with Barcelona, but I think the rest, they can give the rest a game whoever they play. And, they got pretty much annihilated by Bayern Munich last time they played them, and I just think they'll be better for that. And as you say, the ultimate irony will be if Pellegrini ends up playing Bayern Munich and City end up overcoming them and being replaced by the guy, beating the team who you've been replaced by.
Absolutely right. Well, that's great. I'm delighted that we've had that long discussion about the Champions League. Now, Adrian, what I was going to say was, mate, and you'll be very well aware of this, there's a very important game in London tonight. But there's two very important games, actually, which affect Everton. One, of course, is at Crystal Palace, where we've got to start getting a few Premiership points. But to me, the more important game is at West Ham, because West Ham are playing Manchester United for a place in the semi-final to play against Everton. Yeah. And I have to say, Adrian, looking at the way that West Ham have got their act together in the last half of the season, last third of the season, they are going to be formidable opponents to Everton in the semi-final a week on Saturday.
But I think they're both winnable games, either way.
You do?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and I think obviously it's been a really difficult year for Manchester United by their own standards this year, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem as though it's a pretty happy camp. And I think Everton are capable of beating either of the opponents at Wembley. Big open field, they'll play the football, and I think it's got to that stage now, Mike, where everybody realises the season's coming down to that one game now.
Yeah,
they're not going to go down. People keep talking. Obviously they're coming down the table, and they're not going to get relegated. And if I was Roberto, I'd be channeling all my efforts in getting this team ready for this semi-final, because I think they're capable of winning the FA Cup.
Well, I do as well, but I have to say I'm not as confident as you are on taking on West Ham. I'm really not. I mean, thank God it's not at Goodison. Do you know, Adrian, I saw a statistic tonight. Everton have got the fourth worst home record in the history of the Premier League of any team that's not been relegated.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was that bad, Mike.
Oh,
obviously.
and
the worst part is that that's always been the club's strength.
Of course,
playing at Goodison Park has been, that's where the majority of points have come by, because it's notoriously through its history been an incredibly difficult place for people to go and try and win games.
Yeah,
So obviously they've. It's been a difficult year, but I said to you a few months ago, I hope they keep with him.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him get an opportunity to spend some of this money.
Yeah,
and keep the young players and see where we go from there. But you don't have to be Einstein to work out that obviously the pressure's mounting, and
definitely,
as well as anybody, Mike, it's not an easy place to manage or play.
No, it's not.
When the natives aren't happy, if you like.
No, I totally agree.
But amazing to look at the table and see that Crystal Palace are only 2 points below Everton, and they're kind of threatened with the relegation sort of mire, possibly. So they'll be looking to win this game. But Everton have. It's just the worst season they've had for a while.
Well, the home.
I'm not asking you. I'm asking him.
The home record, 8 defeats, by the way, at home, Adrian.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember when that would have been the last time that would have been, Mike. But the other thing is that for me is that when you look at it, it's probably maybe the most talented group since the mid-80s
I know.
team.
Of course it is.
And I think that's where a lot of the frustration has come from.
Exactly.
The fact is that for the first time, a lot of supporters are thinking, "Hey, we've got a proper team again here."
Yeah.
And and all of a sudden we're going down the league rather than up. So I think it's difficult for Roberto. He's probably hoping and praying that he can salvage something in the semi-final, but obviously I don't think they're going to get relegated. In fact, they're not going to get relegated. But
no,
the worse that it gets, the more pressure he puts himself under for the start of next year.
But if they don't win the FA Cup, and obviously they finish in a very bad way in the league, would it not be time to get another manager at Everton and just give somebody else another go?
Who would you give it to?
Well, the thing is,
well, everybody always asks that question.
No,
but
no,
there's
no.
plenty of managers out there.
By the way, I look at some of the teams who've chopped and changed. Are they doing any better for it?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Adrian. I read some speculation over the weekend that some Mexican guy or some Brazilian guy working in Mexico.
Bielsa.
Sorry?
Argentinian. Bielsa.
That's right.
Bielsa.
Yeah.
And he's a great manager. He was at Athletic Bilbao for a while.
Well, I mean, I've never heard of him, frankly.
You've never heard of him?
No.
He's not Mexican.
He's got a great reputation, but the situation always is that the gamble of taking a foreign manager is not always the answer.
Of course not.
Who've come in at the big end of the league table, if you're taking over Arsenal, look at what's happening. Van Gaal's found it difficult at Man United. They've spent $300 million.
Yeah, of course.
Wherever, $300 million, whatever they've spent. So,
Can this guy speak English, Adrian? Can he speak English, do you know?
Bielsa, I don't think so.
No, well, that's no good. That's hopeless. That is a waste of space time. Getting a guy on Merseyside, with the Scouse sort of vernacular who can't speak English is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think it's very difficult. And I think the other thing is, because I do know a lot about Bielsa.
Yeah.
He's got a great reputation. The most important thing is his relationship with his players. He's very demanding.
Yeah.
And you lose something when you're going through an interpreter.
Of course you do.
I thought it was really clever you look at Guardiola when he went to Bayern Munich, he learnt the language, he learnt German. And even Klopp said that the way he manages at Liverpool, it would be impossible to get the relationship with the players that he has not speaking the language.
Exactly.
So
exactly. I just can't understand it. I just don't understand it. I don't know how
there's a lot you
anybody
don't
does
understand.
that. Yeah.
Listen, Adrian, thank you so much for taking the time
to
talk to us. Sorry it was very much monopolised by the talk of Everton. I mean, we could have talked a bit more about Manchester City's achievements.
Why?
Because they've just got to the semi-final of the Champions League.
And it's brilliant, and we've saluted it, and we've paid
so
tribute
let's move
to
on
it.
then, shall we?
But I mean,
Instead, we have a bottom-of-the-table football match that you want to talk more about, Everton against
Crystal Palace. We have to look forward on this show.
Bottom-of-the-table match.
There are 2 games tonight which are critical to 4 teams, to Everton, to Palace, to West Ham, to Manchester United. So talking about 4 English teams, talking about 4 English teams is better than talking about 1 English team, you clothhead.
Oh, there you go. It's about time. 55 minutes into the show. First time he's insulted me. This is Talk Sport. Muso says this, Ray Porky's duck Rogerisation revelations. It leads me to think of only one exclamation expression, which I can't read out, but it ends a duck.
Yeah, well, we can understand that. Thank you very much indeed, but this is a family show. We want to keep it that way.
How about this one? Steve says, what do ducks watch on TV?
I don't know.
Documentaries.
Documentaries. I like that. I like a quick joke there. I heard one the other day, actually. I thought it was very funny. No, it's just another stupid joke, which really tickled my fancy.
Theme now.
Well, I haven't got a duck one, but this is great. I'm going to use this over dinner next time with the family.
Over dinner?
Yeah. Right. What do you call? What's the name of a girl who's only got one leg?
I don't know.
Eileen.
I was going to say, what's the face? Old McCartney's ex. No. That's very un-PC. How about, since you're into that one then. You had a girlfriend called Eileen, didn't you? I know, it was Aileen.
No, it was Aileen, yeah. She was
Georgie
Scottish,
says, how do you turn a duck into a soul singer?
Yeah.
Put it in a microwave until it's Bill Withers.
Oh, dear, that's brilliant.
I don't mind that one.
I like that.
You like that as well?
Yeah,
Dave is having a go at me, saying Crazy Nights sung by one of those pretend metal bands, actually sung by Kiss, one of the most successful rock bands.
Yeah.
Kiss are awful.
Yeah.
And you would call Kiss one of the most successful rock bands ever. Absolutely awful.
Didn't they have all these tribute bands, Kiss?
Well, Ian Danter's in one of them, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
I didn't realise that. Is that the one he's in?
He does something, I think it's Dressed to Thrill, they're called.
Is he the drummer, is he?
I don't know.
He plays the drums,
I've never seen him, I'm not sure.
No, I don't know either, yeah. Well, good luck to him. I'm sure he does a great job.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Now, somebody else has sent a very nice picture of a duck wearing some headphones.
Yeah.
It says, Porky's Noise Cancellation Headphones by Dr. Drake.
Dr. Drake, I like it, you know. Yeah, you see, the sex life of a duck has fascinated everybody.
Well, it has, but you haven't explained it properly yet.
Well, I have explained it. I've explained everything.
You've got about 10 seconds to explain how ducks copulate.
Ducks bounce up and down on each other, actually.
Right.
That's what they do, males and females. They don't have protruding sexual organs.
So
or
how do
like
they wear each other out then?
Well, I suppose if you've got a drake bouncing up and down on you and you're a duck, that tires you out quite a lot.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I would think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to John Whittingdale.
Yeah. Well.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Lots more to come, including Ask Porky, of course, as well. We've got a double header of our features.
Yes.
I've got a couple of stories to tell you. And I wanted to make a reference to Finn, your big fan, who sent in a very nice card.
Young lad, yes.
Before I do that, let me just set you right on your Evertonian scenario.
Right.
Lord Rallo says, another interview, another case of Porky rambling on about Everton. No one cares. They're rubbish, he says. #plank.
Well, actually, they are one of the most significant clubs in this country, and the fact that you say they're rubbish, the fact
14th, I think they're in at the moment.
Yeah, they are, but the fact that they've got three outstanding players who are going to be
That
sought...
wasn't a cue for you to ramble on about them some more.
Who are going to be sought by other clubs in the close season.
Well, that'll be no good for Everton.
But who Everton will hopefully hang on to means that it is a very significant issue.
Abdul says these duck jokes are ridiculous.
Ridiculous, I like it.
And Frankie says Porky's species gender role reversal. Male ducks bounce on female ducks, but female humans do the bouncing on males.
Oh, I don't want to get into that.
Not entirely true,
This
is
is
it?
a family show. You've just referred to the fact that young Finn has written us a letter, which you're going to read out in a minute. He doesn't want me listening to this sort of garbage.
Losty says no tribute yet to the great David Guest who sadly passed away.
Funny enough, because when we heard earlier he died in the Four Seasons Hotel in Canary Wharf.
Yes.
That, in fact, is one of your alma maters in hotel terms, is it not?
It is. I used to stay there a lot, actually, in the old days.
And that was when you were working in Scotland, but visiting London on a regular basis?
Yes,
with the Mirror Group?
The Mirror Group, of course, was
who were
based
spending
in,
like £400 a night having you a suite at that hotel?
That's not true. I don't know how much it cost because I never saw a bill.
Well, it was a big suite, wasn't it?
It was. Well, I often got a big suite, yeah. But, I mean, it could have been more than that. I had no idea.
Oh, it might have been more than £400
Well, it might have been. It was £400
How
for a room.
important do you think you were to this organisation?
Well, I was very important. I was the only part of the organisation putting on circulation, actually.
And one morning, after you'd been raddled as you went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, the breakfast arrives, and it's on 4 trolleys.
Yeah.
Wheeled in by 4 separate breakfast waiters. Is that right?
I know that you.
Is that right?
Well, yes, it is. I know that you've never probably ordered breakfast in a hotel in a room.
Of course I have.
Yeah, but have you ever ordered it for room service?
Of course I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like you'd be that sort of guy. You were always up at the crack of dawn leaving somewhere.
I tell you what,
I was in a big rush.
I remember in the Copley Plaza once in Boston, which is in Copley Square. It's a very old-fashioned hotel, traditional. It's the hotel of Boston.
Right.
I did exactly what you've done and thought, a few pancakes and then a bit of bacon and all that. And they all came on separate trolleys, and there was about 3 guys.
Well, my thing was, I woke up. The thing was, I'd come down to London, and I'd sort of quickly thrown my stuff into the room, and gone out because there was a meeting I had to get to.
No, you went out on bladderation.
No, I always
mission.
had to come down for a meeting first. There was also a meeting.
What time was the meeting?
The meeting, I think, was about 4 o'clock or something.
In
like
the
that.
afternoon.
In the afternoon,
right?
So I got down there.
It's a high-level editorial meeting.
It was a very high-level editorial meeting.
On when to close, when to close down the Scottish Daily Mirror that you were in charge of.
No, how they could replicate the amazing success of the Scottish Daily Mirror, which was putting record numbers on, and how they could sort of replicate that in other parts of the country. There was talk of doing a Manchester edition in a similar way and giving me to people in charge of it. Talk of doing a Newcastle edition, like the old editions used to be. You know, because the problem is that people didn't feel connected to their paper anymore.
Right.
Would you like to hear any more about the theory and practice of decent journalism?
No, I'd like to hear about this bladderation mission.
It's not just about turning up and ordering everybody around.
So you drop the bags at 4, you rush out on the sauce.
Yeah. So then we had the meetings. Then I would end up sort of being, going out for a few drinks with some of the guys I hadn't seen for a while.
Yeah.
Keeping in touch with them.
And where was dinner that night?
I'm not sure if we even had dinner.
Right.
But it kind of rambled on until quite late and early in the morning.
Yes.
Anyway, I got up to the room and, suddenly discovered that I had this massive suite and it was overlooking the river. So I could actually see where my current house is now.
Sorry, they moved your bags from the original room?
No. But what I didn't know was when I went into the first room, there was more than one of them. I thought that was the only room, but it turned out there was about 2 other rooms.
You haven't
done
much
amazing.
of this, have you?
It was great.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I thought, I'm quite hungry, so I better order some breakfast in the morning. And I just remember filling out the little thing that you hang on the door.
Yes.
And I remember it was very, very close to 2 o'clock, so you had to put it out before 2.
Yeah.
And I must have just ordered too many things. I had kippers. I had some muesli. I had some porridge.
Well, that's a disgusting combination
I had some poached
food.
eggs. What's wrong with kippers in the morning?
What, with poached eggs?
That's what you have them with.
And smoked salmon?
No, not smoked salmon. I don't say smoked salmon. You have kippers and poached eggs.
Oh, I don't.
But then I also had a full English breakfast as well.
Egg.
I know you say you've never eaten an egg.
Yeah.
Then had some, sausage, bacon, some toast. I mean, it's ridiculous. And there were 4 trolleys.
Have you heard of the expression "eyes bigger than your belly"?
Yes.
Yes, it was that situation.
It was that situation. Yes, it was way too much food.
Yes, exactly.
But once again, whenever I went out and tried to leave the place, and I would go downstairs and think, well, just before this bill hits the old office, I better just make sure it's all right.
Better get out
because
of
there
here.
are other occasions where there would have been some entertaining going on in the bar, which was open until about 3 in the morning. You know?
And again, you just signed that off to your room.
Yeah, and whenever I asked the guy at the front desk, who was French, Henri or whatever his name was, can I have a copy of the bill? No, monsieur, it is all taken care of.
Yeah.
And he would never give me a bill.
Pretty disgraceful way
But
to
when
lead
Sly
your life,
Bailey was then put in charge of the Mirror,
yes,
which was after Piers Morgan got fired, I was told that not even the directors of the company were allowed to stay there.
Actually,
I wasn't allowed to stay there anymore.
I think you'll find, without having to correct you publicly, Sly Bailey fired Piers Morgan.
She did.
Yeah. You said when Sly Bailey took over after Piers was fired, she was the one who fired Piers.
I said when she took over and it was after he'd been fired.
You didn't actually, but
because she took over she didn't fire him immediately when she took over. She took over the company and then fired him later.
Yeah, but it was years before she. He didn't get fired because of the pictures immediately. That took months.
Well, no, it didn't take months. It took about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
the point is that she took over the company before he was fired, so he was still there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he was no longer signing the checks.
And another thing to point out is that subsequently she has been fired because, of course, the company went into a nosedive under her control.
It did.
And is only now recovering.
Yeah, she wasn't any great genius. Now,
no, she wasn't.
How about this card I've got from Finn? It's a picture of him. He says he's now 12, by the way, rather than 11.
OK.
This is your biggest fan.
Happy birthday,
There's a picture of him next to a road called Parry Drive.
Oh, right. Where's that?
It's somewhere near, I think, what's the name of the Brooklands Motor Museum?
Oh, right.
Apparently.
And where's that?
Because he says, in my quest to follow the teachings of Mr. Parry this Easter holidays, I visited Brooklands Motor Museum, where I had a tour of Concorde to gain my astronaut status. I drove a Mercedes-Benz at Mercedes-Benz World.
Excellent.
And had a picnic consisting of a cob loaf recommended by Mr. Parry from Morrison's in Sutton.
Oh, did I recommend it? I don't remember that.
Well, you say you eat a lot of cobs from
Morrison's.
Yeah,
I do, yeah.
Because I can confirm that Mercedes makes a fine car. Cob loaves are really tasty, but I couldn't confirm flying on Concorde makes you an astronaut.
Yeah.
I was delighted, though, to see a road nearby Brooklands called Parry Drive, as the enclosed photo shows.
Excellent.
Then he says, as my exams draw nearer, I will be listening even more closely and trying to absorb all the wise words and wisdom of the great Porky Parry.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Finn. And if you continue to lead your life along those lines, you're going to be a very successful chap, believe me. Was Victoria Murphy around in your day?
Who?
I've just seen her on one of our internal monitors with the royals in India. She is the Daily Mirror's royal correspondent.
No, I don't think so.
No,
don't think I knew her.
No, probably you didn't know. They weren't very keen on the royals in Scotland, were they?
Really? Yeah, they were, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Thought there's a bit of sort of anti-royal feeling up there.
Not particularly. Well, most of the royal castles are up there. Don't forget.
Most of the royal castles are up there. Indeed, you're right. Now, I'll tell you what I need to talk to you about. Did you know that, according to my journals, and I picked this up whilst I was in hospital, butter is not dangerous to your heart if you take veg oil instead.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Eating healthy spreads rather than butter may not reduce the risk of heart disease. After all, a major new review has concluded we've long been told butter is full of bad saturated fat, that we should eat sunflower and vegetable oil spreads, both of which I have in my house.
I thought when you made butter a winner, that was months and months ago, because the new study said actually there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, but hang on, I found that out first. Guess what? The whole of the rest of the world's now found out.
Really?
The US National Institute of Health has found that those who ate more of the healthy fats in vegetable oils saw their cholesterol fall, but this improvement in cholesterol did not translate into a drop in heart disease or risk of death compared to those who ate butter. Butter is good for you. Butter is good.
Hang on, you haven't really explained this very well. We haven't got time now. I'll have to ask you to explain it a little bit more very, very shortly. Coming up next, an explanation of why butter is good for you by Mike Parry.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM, Talk Sport.
Now then, what do you think of that?
I was quite like Sister Sledge.
I did. I thought it was fantastic.
It also reminds me of that scene in Gold in Private Benjamin.
Oh,
where,
I haven't seen that.
They all dance around in their sort of dorm.
Oh yeah.
After they've done something, they've won the the mock battle.
Oh right, okay, yeah. I didn't see that actually. I saw a bit of it. I saw the only take I ever saw of that film was when she went and asked for, have you got any underwear that's not green? Is that right?
People said that you must have been watching the porno version of that because she doesn't ask for underwear. She asks for just clothes that are not green.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she did. Oh no, I've never watched a porno film in my life, so I wouldn't know.
Really?
No, never.
Why not?
Well, I just don't...
Well, not even by accident.
No, I can't stand it. Now then, listen, let me tell you this. Sister Sledge, who were brilliant in the... Was it the 70s or the 80s? It was 70s.
I think it was the 70s,
1974, 75, I think.
Nile Rodgers
got together. They didn't like Nile Rodgers. The reason I'm telling you all this is because they've just got a new record out for the first time in 20 years.
Right.
Sister Sledge's new track, Women Are the Music of the World, shall be released on the 29th of May. So that's quite a bit off, but I mean, I'm ahead of the game.
29th of May this year.
29th of May
What's
this
going to
year.
be released?
I've just told you, their new record, Women Are the Music of the World.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Now...
Are they still called Sister Sledge, then?
Yeah, of course they're called... What do you think they'd be called?
Well, I don't know. They've kind of moved on a bit now, haven't they? They've probably all got grandchildren. Grandma Sledge.
You don't not become a sister when you grow older, you know.
No,
You're a sister for life.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily the first point.
Are you still the brother of your sister Mari?
I am indeed.
And she's
Why
still
do you
your
have to give
sister?
her name away? Yeah, she is, yeah.
Yeah, oh, well, that hasn't changed.
Yeah,
then.
but you don't turn up at places going, this is my sister, and I go everywhere with her, because that's what you do when you're younger, isn't it?
I don't know.
I know you do that,
No,
because
I
you haven't
don't.
got anybody else.
No, I don't. Don't be ridiculous.
You know, you turn up at places with your sister, don't you?
Yeah, of course I do. And if somebody says, oh, who's this? I say,
Don't you
it's
think
my
you're a bit
sister.
old for that?
Why? Why am I a bit old for that?
You don't socialise with your sister, do you?
If I'm going
You must
somewhere...
have a family of your own.
If I'm going somewhere and my sister wants to come with me, she comes with me. Me and my two sisters went on holiday to Cornwall together.
I know. I think that's weird.
Because it was... what? Why do you think it's weird?
Of course it's weird.
Your sister goes on holiday with you?
Not really.
She does?
No.
You've told me that you rent a
She
place
occasionally,
in Europe
but
and she comes
I don't
over.
go on holiday with her, though, nobody else.
Well, I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, mate, there's nothing unusual
If I
about
get
it
a villa
whatsoever.
somewhere in Spain, then
Yeah.
she's welcome to come, and sometimes she does.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, we like to keep the bond of sibling, whatever it is,
Sibling
alive.
rivalry.
No, not even rivalry. But anyway, it's another story. I don't always get on with my brothers-in-law, so I like to see my sisters without them sometimes. Simple as that.
Okay.
Now then, what I was going to say is that they've got this new record coming out, right? But it was Nile Rodgers who made them and made those records. But what they had this huge studio row. They like to go into a studio knowing every word of every song, every note, every musical note, every, interaction between musicians and all that.
Right.
Nile Rodgers didn't. He said, no, I want spontaneity because that's what makes a great record.
Yeah.
And they found it difficult to work with him until they made Lost in Music, which turned out to be one of the greatest... Is it a soul record, that?
I don't know, really.
Lost in Music.
I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on Sister Sledge.
I'm lost in music, caught in a trap, ain't coming back, lost in music. Those are the words.
I don't know.
And they were all
I don't know the
apparently
song.
just made up as they went through it because they were great. What she said was, hang on.
Oh, I know the song, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
Lost in Music,
that
yeah.
was still the same as their old stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it was very good. Now then, they got together with Nile Rodgers, right? And they said it was fun but challenging. Apparently, there was a bloke in Sister Sledge called Bernard. Is that right?
Bernard?
Yeah.
He wasn't one of the sisters.
No, I don't think so. It's anyway, he says, Bernard and my sister Debbie were both musical genii when it came to
I
harmony.
think you were telling us about butter, anyway.
Hey?
I thought you were
I'll
gonna
tell you
tell us
about butter in a minute, cool things like that. She said, but Niall was the mediator. One day in the studio, two of us walked out, and Niall was saying, why is everybody walking out to take a break? And they said, well, we don't like the way things are going. Recording the track We Are Family was like one big take. We were just dancing and playing around when we did it. But Lost in Music was totally different. It was in a trance. Even when we play it today, it's different every time. We have brilliant musicians, and we just say, take us somewhere, go deep.
So what's the point of the story?
Point of the story is that Sister Sledge are making a comeback.
Right.
They were one of the most popular girl groups of all times. They went away, had lives together, they're getting back together and launched a new record. I think that is absolutely newsworthy.
Have you got their greatest hits?
I have, actually.
Have you?
I have, yeah. And when that gets... I'll tell you where... I was working in Birmingham at the time, OK? And, of course, they were very, funky. Birmingham's a very funky town. It's very cosmopolitan, very diverse and all that kind of stuff. And they went... they were very, very popular in the nightclubs of Birmingham, I have to say.
How did you describe Birmingham?
Cosmopolitan, diverse.
Are you joking?
No.
Really? I've been to Birmingham.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it cosmopolitan.
Why?
Because I don't think it is.
Why don't you think it is?
Because London's cosmopolitan.
Yes.
New York's cosmopolitan.
Yes.
Birmingham isn't.
I think it is.
No.
Why do you say it's not? I think
Because I've been there.
Town.
I went to the
city.
place that everyone said was the best place to go for a Friday night out, right?
Yes.
Which is that stretch of a road that goes up past the Birmingham Rep.
Broad Street.
Is it Broad Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a whole load of pubs and
Yeah,
things
that's
and a whole
right,
load of nightclubs and all that. It's awful. Horrendous.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing to say. We did a show there. In fact, we sold out the...
We did 2 shows
the
at Birmingham Rep.
We did 2 shows at the Birmingham Rep. We sold both out.
Yeah, but no, I don't care whether you think that is in some way an insulting thing to say about Birmingham. I don't think even people that live in Birmingham would accept that it is cosmopolitan.
Well, I think it is. Anyway,
you might, because
you
you're not
want to
very
know more about
cosmopolitan.
butter, right? This comes from the US
Well, I want
National...
you to explain what you just said, because what you appeared to say is that it's better for you to use non-butter-like spreads.
Yes, that's right.
However, it's not that much better for you.
Well, it's now been found to be a vacuous theory. This is
it's either better for you or not, surely.
Well, I'm going to read the evidence to you. Britons were advised in 1983. 1983. I think that's the first year I met you in America.
Yeah, that's probably right.
I think it was, yeah. In 1983, to reduce their fat intake to 30% of total energy and to cut their consumption of butter, full-fat milk and other foods high in saturated fat to just 10%.
Right.
Meanwhile, they were advised that the good polyunsaturates...
Polyunsaturates, yeah. Well said.
In vegetable or sunflower oils, which is omega-6 fat, has long been linked to a lower heart disease risk. Flora... and other so-called healthy spreads boast they are high in omega-6. But several major studies have now found... Hey?
I'm sorry I asked you. Stupidly, I thought you'd give me a concise breakdown.
I've given you a concise breakdown. But several major studies have found that people who eat lots of saturated fat are no more likely to die early than others. And a growing number of scientists want the guidelines changed.
Right, OK.
So that's what it's all about.
Hey, did I tell you that weird thing that happened to me on the way up to Manchester?
No, what was that?
I was driving up in the car with the lovely Ms. Emma Graham.
You did tell me. This is a great story, yes.
Our producer, executive producer, Dave Levine.
Yes.
And we were passed by a very, very beautiful-looking, open-topped blue Bentley.
Fantastic.
With 2 rather large men in it, right?
Right.
Which was not a big deal.
So it could have been like you and I, really?
It could have been, yeah. They were even bigger than us, actually.
OK.
And anyway, I sort of pointed to it. Everybody looked at us. It was a nice car. Anyway, we stopped a little bit further up to get some petrol.
Right.
And lo
a
and behold,
service station, like.
A service station. Lo and behold, these guys pulled in behind me, and I didn't see it. I mean, I didn't remember overtaking them, but anyway, somehow they were behind us.
Yeah.
Anyway, they pulled in. I was standing there filling the car up with petrol. And this guy got out of the car and he sort of walked towards me. I said to him, as I wouldn't normally do, I said, it's a very beautiful car you got there. And he said, oh, well, you know, he says, it's a bit of a women's car, though, he says, I suppose you might say. And I said, well, not really, because it was very powder blue.
Well, I do think it's a bit odd, you know, when you see 2 guys in an open-top car rolling up the motorway.
Really?
Yeah, I do a bit, yeah.
I mean, if it was a Ferrari, you wouldn't say that.
No, I would. I would, yeah.
OK.
I think a beautiful sports car...
Well, it turned out they were father and son. Right.
Oh, OK.
So not quite so strange. But I said, well, to be honest, the way you two look, you know, quite ugly. Actually, I wouldn't say it looks like a girly car at all.
Yeah.
Which fortunately laughed at.
Yeah.
Because as I said it, I thought it could be taken the wrong way.
Could be taken the wrong way.
Anyway, the guy then comes over. We had this long conversation about, you know, he says, that your daughter in the cars is my son, you know, family values and all this.
That's
he says, I'm a humble plumber.
Yeah.
He said, but I like collecting expensive cars. He's obviously doing very well as a plumber.
Probably the bloke who owns Pimlico Plumbing or something.
Well, he could be, yeah. He then inexplicably said that later on in the day, he was going to be, him in another car were going to go up on the M6 toll, and he was going to try and get from one car into the other. And he said, so you might have to look later on in the news. Yeah, well,
he's going to climb from one car into the other.
That's what he said, yeah.
While the cars were going 80 miles an hour
well
or something.
into his late 50s. And I wasn't sure if I was going to buy that. But and he said, you might want to see if it's on the news later. I don't think he did it because I didn't see the news later.
I hope he didn't because he might have killed himself.
Well, exactly. And he said that. He said, I might die doing it.
Yeah.
He said, but, you know, my life has been complete. He said, if that happens... It was just one of these very weird encounters, you know, very random.
Very weird indeed.
Anyway, I went inside to pay for the petrol and all the rest of it. And as I came out, they were sort of driving out. And the car stopped and the son got out with clutching a bottle of champagne, handed me a bottle of champagne and said, my dad really liked you, let's have a bottle of champagne. And off he went.
What?
He gave me a bottle of champagne.
Did you tell the guy that you were a broadcaster for Talk Sport?
I didn't know.
Really?
I didn't.
Good God.
No.
That's amazing.
I know.
Well, somebody liked you just for yourself?
Just for me, yeah.
Did he ask you where you were going or anything like that?
Yeah, I said we were going up to Manchester to do a show.
Right, well, he must have known you had some role in the communications
He said that
business.
he was taking some punters to I think he said not the West Brom game, but the Aston Villa game, I think.
That day?
Yeah.
What happened? They lost, didn't they? 2-0.
Yeah, they lost.
2-0 to Leicester.
Was it? No, it was Chelsea, wasn't it?
Chelsea, you're right. Yeah, sorry. So it was not 2-0, it was 3-0.
Yeah.
3-0 to Chelsea. Yeah,
well,
that's right.
If you're an Aston Villa fan, you'd be expecting that.
Well, of course
it
you
was
would.
just one of those strange encounters, though, that you
Very
don't really have
strange
any
indeed.
reason for. I just thought I'd let you know. So it bothers you, does it, that somebody actually liked me?
Well, I do find that a little bit odd. They liked you so much, they stopped and got out. What have you done with the bottle of champagne then? You brought it in here to share with me?
No, I haven't, no, because you're not allowed to drink champagne,
Well, I don't drink champagne, but the gesture would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, why would I open a bottle of champagne in front of you knowing you can't drink it?
Well, I might have a sip.
Well, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it down to Sussex because there's a birthday, so I'll take it down there.
See, all for yourself again, eh?
Well, it wasn't given to the two of us.
Yeah. What?
It wasn't given to the two of us. It was given to me.
Sorry, I thought we shared everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
In the working world.
Is that right?
In the working world.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Okay.
You're on your way to a show. You've got a champagne. You inherit a bottle of champagne
we share
on the
everything,
way,
do we?
And you don't even tell me.
So we share everything. Okay.
Yes.
All right, well, I'll bear that one in mind.
Yes.
I'll bear that one in mind.
Yes.
So when you go on Clash of the Titans next, what will that be?
What?
What will that be?
Well, that's not my decision. I would like to involve you in that, but unfortunately, other people who make the decisions on that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, luckily I don't work on Sundays.
Top broadcasting executives can't find a role for you.
Matty says, I'm from Birmingham and I agree with MG. Broad Street is awful. Drunk lads thinking they're Anthony Joshua all over the place.
Well, that's very nice to say that about your own town, isn't it, eh?
Well, coming up next, it's time for winners and losers from last night. Now, we haven't discussed it, but it seems only right since you're back from the death's door, or whatever it's going to be called, that you should be able to do your losers first. I hope you've had enough time to put them all together.
Oh, yes. Well, I was sort of, obviously, at times, sort of lapsing in and out of consciousness, whilst testing new drugs and all that kind of stuff.
This is what's going to happen over the course of the next few days.
Yes.
It's going to get more and more dramatic, isn't
it?
This appearance of yours.
No, I don't wish to talk about it anymore. The audience have been marvellously receptive and warm, so we'll put that to bed, okay?
Yeah.
Right, my losers, okay?
Go on, three of them.
Now, the first one, and I'm sorry I have to say this, is Lee Westwood. Because Lee Westwood has never won a major competition. He's over 30 now. I mean, the opportunity when Jordan Spieth suddenly went into meltdown, and all of a sudden Lee Westwood found himself at the head of the leaderboard and should then have used the experience.
Well, he wasn't quite at the top of it, was he?
Well, I'm saying he could have moved to the top of it quite easily. Yeah, absolutely, after chipped in. And Jordan Spieth is hurtling down past him like a lift whose cables have just been slashed, okay? Bearing in mind that Lee Westwood was at one time the number one golfer in the world.
Yeah.
But as Nick Faldo pointed out, without ever having won a major competition, it was the greatest opportunity ever. And what happened? He bottled it. Yeah. Because he was playing with his... He three-putted and bottled it because he was playing with his stablemate, old Danny Willits, who went on to win it and become an international hero.
Yeah.
So Lee Westwood, I'm sorry, has to be my main loser. My second loser, right, is Arsene Wenger. Now, I know I've known him before, but this was because in his interview, I'm being very pragmatic about my losers tonight. I'm not going for any funny ones. Arsene Wenger, because actually what he said after the West Ham game where they drew 3-3 after being 2-0 up was, well, of course, we didn't have any answer to Andy Carroll. Yeah. And when he was asked, well, surely if you knew Andy Carroll was playing, he said, well, I didn't find out Andy Carroll was playing until 10 minutes before the start of the game. So he then sort of admitted he put Koscielny into the back line, who is a lot smaller than Andy Carroll, instead of putting in somebody like Mertesacker, who's the same height. Yeah. And he said, we couldn't handle Andy Carroll. So then the interviewer said, well,
you got substitutes, right?
Not only that, but if you knew that Andy Carroll was going to be a huge problem to you in the middle, heading 2 goals and a third from an overhead kick, so to speak, why didn't you try and cut off the supply from the fullbacks? And he said, yes, good point, we just couldn't handle Andy Carroll. So I thought that was a shocking response to, a victory, which they managed to turn into nearly a defeat, but then grab back a draw. And my third one is Aston Villa. Yeah. And again, you
can't just keep putting Aston Villa in.
No, hang on. This is for a very specific reason, okay? I'm being very specific tonight. Right. I'm not just saying Aston Villa, but Aston Villa could be losers on a number of issues, but this one in particular is an insult to their fans. Yeah. Aston Villa tomorrow are launching, or this week anyway, a Player of the Year competition amongst the fans. I mean, who on earth, as an Aston Villa fan, is going to respond to that?
Well, I don't think they're
really,
going to have many nominees, are they?
Could you really nominate one single Aston Villa player to be Player of the Year in a club that has performed so pathetically since day one? The answer is no.
No.
So just to recap on that, Lee Westwood, Arsene Wenger, because he admits that they didn't have any answer to Andy Carroll and he couldn't find any way of sorting it, and Aston Villa for trying to ask their fans to vote for Player of the Year.
Yes, well, I think those are all reasonably good, but I've got a couple for you, also Masters-related. My first one is Matt Holland, TalkSport's very own Matt Holland, who's a big fan of the Masters, and unfortunately for him, just as Jordan Spieth was teeing off on the 12th, he did what I suppose some people did throughout the country. He sent out a tweet that said, "Up early tomorrow, so it might be worth going to bed, seeing as the golf looks done and dusted." Luckily, he didn't actually go to bed. I suggested he was going to be nominated as the Porky Jinx of the Year. Well, because as soon as he said that, of course, everybody knows what happened. All hell broke loose.
Well, I feel a bit sorry for Matty on that one. Matty's a nice lad. I did a duet with him at the Christmas party.
Yeah, he wasn't very happy about that, was he?
And he liked that a lot. But anyway, please go on.
In between the Masters two that I've got, because I've got another one from the Masters. Yes. I've got Sam Allardyce, because Sam Allardyce is always talked about as the man that can keep a team up.
That's right.
He's the man that's got all the experience. Yes. He's the man that knows what he's doing, and he for sure will be the one out of those bottom three that will come out. But they lost 2-0 at the weekend to Leicester.
Yes.
Sunderland didn't look like they had a hope in hell of ever getting a goal.
Yes.
They're now 4 points adrift from Norwich, who are above them.
Yes.
Further 10 points adrift from Crystal Palace, who are the next ones up.
Indeed.
And I think it looks game, set and match for all those three at the bottom, Aston Villa, Newcastle and Sunderland. So I wonder if this is the year when Sam Allardyce's kind of magical reputation as the man that rescues teams at the bottom of the league is all over and done with.
Could be.
And my final one is Jordan Spieth himself. Because Jordan Spieth, not only did he have that terrible collapse on the 12th, but he's a player who can't understand what's happened. You saw him afterwards. He was very, very unhappy about it. He was kind of grumpy when he was handing over the green jacket to Danny Willett.
I feel a bit sorry for him, to be honest.
No.
I mean, for 3.5 days, he was the Masters champion. Actually, the retaining. He was going to retain the Masters.
Forget that. For something like he was in his 7th round of leading, because the last Masters he led it from the front, so he won 4 rounds. Right, he was leading. The next 2 he was leading.
He would have been the first player ever to win back-to-back Masters and leading
and have never
at
lost
the end of
lead.
every day. That's
109. He led for 119 holes at Augusta, basically, from the last year's Masters to this one.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of these players that will take a very long time to recover from this, because you can tell by what he's been saying afterwards that he doesn't understand what could have possibly happened to him.
It's only what happened to Rory McIlroy, isn't it? In the same situation on the same course, and he recovered okay.
McIlroy's recovered fine, but I think McIlroy's a much more kind of easygoing character. Jordan Spieth is a God-fearing, Southern Baptist type American.
Well, he probably had more faith in God to help him, I suppose.
No, I think he realises that God may have forsaken him. I think that's his big problem.
Okay.
So those are my 3. It's Jordan Spieth himself, Matt Holland and Sam Allardyce. Let's have some winners.
Yep.
Everyone's a winner, baby, that's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
I'm going to go first with my winners of the weekend, and I'm going to have to go, first of all, with Manuel Pellegrini. Having got Manchester City into the semi-finals of the Champions League for the first time in the history of Manchester City.
Yes.
I like Manuel Pellegrini. I've always liked him.
Yes.
Lots of people have said, maybe he's not the right man for the job. Maybe he's changed things around for Manchester City since he announced that he was leaving. But I would love it if he was able to win the Champions League. I'm not sure what chance Manchester City have got. Why are you standing up?
No, I'm not. No, I'm just exercising.
Oh, okay. Is that part of the thing? Yeah. Anyway, so I'm very happy that Manuel Pellegrini is doing so well, and it would be magnificent, would it not, if they managed to get a draw against Bayern Munich, and somehow or other they were able to get past them. I mean, obviously it's a bit of a gamble, and it may well be that they've got just as much chance as anybody else of winning it.
Yes.
But I just think Manuel Pellegrini should be saluted by me for doing it. Now, as far as the golf is concerned, I'm not going to nominate Danny Willett, because obviously that would be far too obvious, but I am going to nominate PJ Willett, who is Danny's brother, who has been proven to be a fantastic character with a great sense of humour. Throughout the Masters, he was tweeting all about Jordan Spieth. He was tweeting how nervous he was. There were a few expletives flying around. My favourite one was before he actually even broke up and collapsed. He went, Spieth is lining up his putt. If I'm quick, I can get a beer, go to the toilet and paint the spare room before he hits it.
Right.
Taking the mickey out of the speed with which Jordan Spieth actually plays.
Indeed.
And he said, my boy's got massive balls, this kind of thing.
Yes.
And then he said, if the boy does what he should, I will be able to say I've shared a bath with a Masters winner.
Yes.
And they're a great family, as you can see from what's happened since it all happened. And it's just been a magnificent a weekend. And now, of course, Daddy's gone home to spend time with his new baby and his wife and the family. And it's just it's a complete difference for people like Tiger Woods and Spieth. It was so boring and mind-numbingly kind of, uninteresting when they talk about golf. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes.
And then my final winner of the weekend, I'm afraid to say, and I've wrestled with myself for a while over this one, is you.
What?
You.
Well, I mean,
Porky Parry wins for me, having fought against adversity, having gone into what could have been a very dangerous situation at the old Harefield Hospital.
Yes.
Got yourself all rigged up with various electrodes and masks and, various things that you had to do, different experiments. And the fact that you've come out on the other side fitter, slightly fatter and generally more healthy, I salute you and I make you a winner of the week.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. Obviously, I can't criticise that one, but...
Nobody can try.
No. Well, anybody would have done what I did. You just had to do it. It was simple as that. But it's very kind of you, and I appreciate the gesture. Now, my three winners, right, are... And again, I'm being very pragmatic here. There's no problems at all with this. The first one is Channel 4. Because they decided to negotiate with the organisers of the Grand National and have the race put back to 5:15.
Yes.
Now, you and I and the lovely Emma and David stood in a betting shop in Manchester at 5:15, watched the race.
Yeah.
You won money, I won money, your family won money, David won money.
Yeah.
And that was because we'd actually had quite a long time to assess our options. And with the race running at 5:15 for the first time ever, I thought it had a better feeling to it. And it got a record audience of 10.1 million viewers. So that means what I believe is the greatest steeplechase in the world, greatest race in the world, had a much bigger worldwide audience than normal, and I am delighted that a great British institution...
So it's going to stay at that time slot?
Yes, it is going to stay at that time slot, but you know what they're going to do? Because it was 3 hours from the first race to the last race, and everybody was bladderated by the time the Grand National started, they're going to start the first race later, so that people don't have, as much of an afternoon to go, and there'll be two...
Yeah, but they'll just start drinking somewhere else earlier, won't they?
No, they won't. They'll go to the court, and there'll be two races after the National instead of one, you see what I mean?
Okay.
And do it that way. So that was a winning situation, the Grand National as presented by Channel 4. The second winner has to be Anthony Joshua, right?
Yeah.
Because he's suddenly become a world heavyweight champion after just 16 professional fights. He's not that young.
In some style.
In some style. He's not that young. He's 26, but... and Mike Tyson won when he was 19, for instance, and Joe Louis, I think, was 21 or something like that. So he's not the youngest and all that. But the point is, the reason he's a real winner is he's become the world heavyweight champion whilst he's still in between Olympic Games as the Olympic gold medal winner.
Right.
So he's gold medal winner as an amateur... and has gone to world heavyweight champion as a professional within the space of 2 Olympic Games.
It's not a unified thing yet, though, is it?
No, it's not unified yet, but he still holds a title, world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
That is unprecedented.
Okay.
And my third winner, tigers.
Tigers? Right.
There were 100,000 tigers in the world in 1900. In the last survey 5 years ago, there were 3,200.
Doesn't sound like they're winning to me.
In a survey just a few weeks ago, that number of 3,200 has gone up to 4,100.
Right.
There are 700 more tigers.
96,000 to go.
There are 700 more tigers on the planet now than there were 5 years ago. That is a fight back for the first time. Yes, but tigers have been declining for over 100 years. Now, conservationists have done such a brilliant job. Tiger, burning bright in the jungles of the night.
In the forests.
In the forests of the night, you're fighting back, your fight is right.
So you've now decided to change the Blake poem?
No, I'm just saying that is how I recognise this fantastic comeback of the tiger.
OK. Thank you very much indeed. That was Winners and Losers.
Indeed.
If you go to the 2 mics, you can vote now. And, of course, we'd like to try and keep clear. We try to keep it clean. Try to keep only one person, one vote and all that sort of thing. We'll be keeping you updated throughout this show. Ask Porky coming up in the next hour.
The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. Listen to Talk Sport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. Cash out just got better. Choose how much you want to cash out, lock in some profit, and leave the rest of the bet to run. Selected bets only. Terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.co.uk.
How about these, love?
Ah, Batura. A ceramic wood effect tile inspired by Mother Nature like aged woods and stone. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe these tiles take their name from the Batura Glacier in South Asia.
How do you know that?
Says so in this Tops Tiles brochure.
Know it all. Be inspired by our range of exclusive tiles, plus over 20 new and exclusive products in over 340 stores and at topstiles.co.uk.
Whether you're saving up for a big anniversary or a coral reef diving holiday, the money you're putting aside is perfectly safe, protected by the FSCS up to £75,000. Should anything happen to your bank, building society or credit union, it's completely automatic, free of charge, and you'll normally get your money back within 7 days. You'll probably never need us, but it's good to know we're here. Search FSCS Protected to check you're fully covered.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. I've got a message here from Paul in Beresford, great bar, Birmingham. I don't know whether Beresford's his second name.
Yes.
If it is, I'm sorry I gave it out. He says, I'm from Birmingham. Broad Street is one of the main nightclub, pub and restaurant streets in Birmingham. Well, yeah, I know that.
No, it is
Plus,
the
Birmingham
main one.
is the main place for a curry. Also, as for Sister Sledge, they were around in the 80s, i.e. 80, 81, 82.
Yeah.
Lost in Music was a disco hit for them, along with We Are Family and Frankie.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you remember
Frankie.
me? Well, thank you, Paul. I'm not quite sure
what the point of that is.
On the Birmingham front,
because we told you all that.
Any information that we didn't already have.
Exactly.
Would you like me to give you a few tweets about the winners and losers?
Yes, please, yeah.
Sean says this, you have played a masterstroke, MG, picking Mike Parry as a winner this week, knowing he will lap up the praise.
But you're going for the sympathy vote.
No, I'm genuinely very happy that you've come through this
what am I
thing.
supposed to do? Am I supposed to say, no, I don't want your nomination, please? Of course I'm not. It's good of you, but it's very cynical what you've done. You've gone for the sympathy vote.
Not at all.
You have.
No, I'm merely looking at all of the things that I saw this weekend.
Yes.
And of all of the things that we saw happening this weekend, I think you emerging from this medical, which could have been bad news, let's face it, if there was anything wrong with you. You know, you could have been told, you can't do any more late night shows, you can't do any more bladderisation, you can't do anything else that you normally would do in the rest of your life.
I don't bladderise anyway. But, I mean, I've got to now say to all the millions of our listeners who are now voting, I've got to say, please don't be swayed by the fact that MG nominated me as a winner. But, that means I've got to decry being a winner. But, I mean, he's gone for the sympathy vote. It's very cynical, this, Please remember, folks, very cynical. Mine were pragmatic, practical, right down the line, winners and losers.
Steve says,
please focus on that.
Steve says, Tigers as a winner?
Yes.
Question mark?
Yes.
Adrian says, 3,200 to 4,100 Tigers.
Yeah.
How is that 700, Porky?
Well, because it was 3,298 to 4,014 or something like that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
John says, Lee Westwood's career earnings without winning a major is over €30 million. He should be a winner in Porky's book.
No, he's not. He's a loser because he's never won a major.
Well, he's got more than 30 million, but you're in favour of people who've got loads of money.
But I'm sorry. You've got to have titles to go with it, and he had the greatest opportunity ever to literally. It was almost like the Steven Gerrard slip, wasn't it? suddenly the man who's in pole position suddenly goes into meltdown. Lee Westwood's right behind him and couldn't take advantage.
Yeah, but I mean that is his MO, isn't it? I mean, how many times has he been right there at the end of majors? And
He's
just
lost in playoffs. He's lost to second place.
It's like Colin Montgomery. I mean, Colin Montgomery could never do it either.
He couldn't win a playoff.
John says
either.
disgraceful tactics from old MG, tugging at the heartstrings of the millions of listeners.
Exactly.
Porky for me this week.
Thank you. Don't be fooled.
Mind you, here's one from Roy. Classic MG reverse psychology for Porky's tribe of flying monkeys. Do they vote for him or against him?
You see, this is the dilemma. Well, perhaps you can tell us what the early voting is showing.
I'll have a quick look because I think it needs to be pinned. It's 57 to 43 in your favour at the moment.
In my favour, thank you very much.
53 votes have been cast.
Yeah, well,
the score at the moment, of course, is 8.5 to 5.5 to me.
Yes, okay.
So we'll have that open till midnight.
That's encouraging.
Open till midnight tonight.
I mean, I'm grateful to you for nominating me as a winner, but I don't want the audience to be swayed on an emotional.
I don't want anyone to
issue.
think that
On
I
an
did.
emotional
I don't
issue.
want anyone to think that I did that as some kind of.
I think you did.
Like you accused me of
Very
doing
cynical.
with my mother. You know, the reason I nominated my mother was because I was very
Well,
proud of
your
the
mother's
fact
a lovely person.
that she had reached the age of 92.
Your mother's a lovely person, and I haven't got a problem there.
The idea that you turned that into something that was other than just love by me to her was nonsensical.
Yes.
Similarly, I haven't voted in any way for you. I mean, some guys sent in a very, very horrendously bad language, bad-mouthed sort of tweet here, text, full of horrible things that he's saying. Allegedly sort of accusing me that I need more work out of you, so therefore I'm sucking up to you. It's Paul in Birmingham who's got it completely wrong.
No, Paul, that's that. There's not the.
He's obviously not very bright, Paul.
It's not the balance of our relationship.
Either that or he's stoned or something.
Yeah, he must be. Now, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about, right? I have just become a big fan of Gail Clichy.
Gail Clichy?
Yeah,
why?
Do you know why? Gail Clichy is so concerned about germs that, when they go out, the two teams, in a European competition, and they have to walk up and down the line, shake each other's hands, he wears gloves. But he doesn't like wearing gloves playing football.
Right.
So when he's finished doing this handshaking...
Does he wear those sort of rubber gloves?
No, he wears woolen gloves, but when he's done the handshaking, he takes off, gives them to an assistant. He's got a phobia about bacteria. He never shakes hands with people. He puts on black gloves to shake opposition stars' hands in the lineup, but then removes them to kick off and gives them to an assistant to take away, OK? He
doesn't he feel that there might be more dangerous things out there when he's playing football? Like, what if he gets a cut and it somehow gets infected with some ground?
No. A pal of his said Gail is a real germaphobe. He always washes his hands and he tries to avoid handshakes all the time on and off the pitch. All the lads are aware of it, but there's not much mickey taking as he's quite precious and doesn't like attention being drawn to it. I don't think he's precious. I think if he wants to pursue his life on the basis
That's a ludicrous situation.
No, on the basis that he doesn't want... I don't like shaking hands with people.
No, I
really don't.
But you don't play football.
Well, that doesn't matter.
There's all sorts of contact that he's getting from players in different situations. Let's talk to Steve, who's a Man City fan.
OK.
I wonder if he's got something to say about that.
Yeah.
Steve, very good morning to you.
Hey. Good morning. Hey, I've got a question for Mike Parry.
Right, go on, mate.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, listening to you were in the newspaper industry, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and were you on the editorial team? Did you get to choose, what went on the front of every newspaper?
Oh, absolutely, mate. I was a senior executive. I was both the news editor and executive editor of two national newspapers. Please go on.
Okay. Well, I'm just kind of curious because these papers clearly must have struggled because on a night when a team from Manchester became the only British team to get to the European semi-finals, and you have Inchy on the phone, you talked to him about Everton.
Yeah, because that's yes, but that included four teams. You see. No, Steve. I gave due credit to Manchester City.
He did after I kind of interjected.
No, the minute I walked in the studio tonight, I said performance of the night was Manchester City. The Everton situation involved four teams. It involved Everton, Palace, West Ham and Manchester United. It was a broader issue.
Well, I do have some good news for you, though, because next year you're going to see a much better John Stones when he plays for us. Guardiola will make him into a really good centre-half.
Well, I hope you've got £80 million to pay for him.
Well, they have.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
They have.
No, you haven't.
What, you think Manchester City haven't got any money?
Oh, bulk.
Hold on, his value is going down every week.
No, it's not.
Everton,
No, it's not. No. It's a cunning strategy.
By the end of the
it's not.
season, you get for 8 million, Steve.
No, not at all. No. But anyway, Steve, it's always good to hear from you, and I'm glad you've rung. I'm glad you love your team so much. You live 6,000 miles away, and therefore, obviously, never go to the stadium.
Very harsh.
Yeah.
Ouch, that hurts.
Yeah, can't you get any further away? Why don't you move to Hawaii, Steve, and then, you could...
Maybe like 9,000 miles
Yeah,
away.
exactly, yeah, you'd never get there. Good man.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's actually in my plans.
Is it to go to Hawaii?
If they get into the Champions League final, though, Steve, you'll have to come back for that, won't you?
Oh, of course. But being serious for a minute, guys, you know, everybody thought we were going to go out. Come on, everybody.
No, you've done a brilliant job.
Even after we drew 2-2 in Paris, everybody thought that we were going to get knocked out today. And I'm fed up of hearing about how great Ibrahimovic is and, how much they were going to kill us. But at the end of the day, I think we played out of our skin. The only regret that I have is that we should have played like that in the Premier League. We'd have had it wrapped up by now.
Well, you can't have everything in life.
You can't have everything in life.
Good luck to
and
you.
Also, you can't concentrate on more than one thing at a time. It's a bit like you, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We haven't got an awful lot of time left, of course. It's almost the next hour when we've got Ask Porky. Loads and loads of questions. An awful lot of them about your health, funnily enough. But we'll be bringing them all to you shortly here on TalkSport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Here's one from Tom who says, I found your nominations for Porky as a winner both genuine and heartfelt. Well done, MG.
Yes, well, OK, fine. I can't object to that, but I think there's a little bit of cynicism there, I have to say.
Not at all. And VHP says, voting for MG for nominating Parry. What a Christian gesture. You can learn something, Porky.
Yes.
And then he says, love you too. Talking of the Grand National, we didn't actually talk through your winnings, did we? On the Grand National. Because you backed about 20 of the horses.
No, I backed 10 horses at £10 each way.
10?
Yeah, and I tell you what, in the run-up to the winning post, when they got over all the fences, the horse that I had at 100 to 1, which eventually finished third, Vic Ecky, was it, or something?
It was Vic's something or other.
Vic's something. But anyway, it was going 100 to 1, and I was standing there in that betting shop we were in, the Ladbrokes one,
That saved your bacon, really, didn't it?
Yeah. And I was saying, come on. Anyway, it just didn't have the stamina. Got overtaken by the winner. Oh, my sister had the winner, by the way.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she rang me.
Rule the World?
Rule the World. She was absolutely thrilled. She had a £10 each way on it.
Yeah.
Which wasn't bad, was it?
Not bad at all.
Because it was 33 to 1.
Yeah.
So that was over 400 quid.
Yeah.
But anyway, mine fell away to third. But nevertheless, because I had it each way, I still got the odds of 25 to 1 on a £10 each way bet, which was £260. 250 plus my stake
so you must have
back.
barely made money.
260. And then the Samurai. Last Samurai.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everybody had a bit of that. I had a bit of that as well.
That came second. I thought that was going to win as well, but it came second. And I had that each way.
Yeah.
But that was only 8 to 1.
Yeah.
So I got odds of 2 to 1 on that. That's £20 plus my stake back, £30. I got £290 back on a £200.
Having put 200 out. So you won 90 quid.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, it's result happiness, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Not a bad result. Very volatile voting patterns at the moment. It's gone the other way now. It's 53-47 to me.
I know.
146 votes cast.
This is ridiculous.
But there's been plenty more time, don't worry.
And also, Stumpy Dog here says, Porky, I've got to vote MG. Porky, please understand my plea. Planky Sister Sledge. So he's trying to make up a song from this rather...
I think you're supposed to sing it in that sort of Sister Sledge type way, aren't you?
Porky, I got to vote MG. Porky, please understand my plea.
No, it's not any better.
Planky Sister Sledge.
It's not any better, is it? I like this one from Matt. Porky will now just drop dead just to spite MG for picking him as a winner, as he got a good bill of health.
I know. It's a shockingly cynical thing to do.
Well, you can't drop dead because we've got a whole load of shows planned, including the next one on May the 7th at a place called the Tram Shed in Cardiff.
Indeed.
Yeah, so
now
gird your loins for your first entry into Wales.
It's not my first entry into Wales.
Well, your first entry is the two mics. I thought you said we do everything together.
First entry is the two mics, certainly, but please understand.
Any idea how much it is now to cross the 7?
I reckon it costs like £6.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be more than that, actually.
£6, £7.40, something like that.
I haven't been there for a while, so it could be more. I used to, when I was editor of the Welsh Daily Mirror.
Yes.
Sometimes on a Saturday morning.
Yes.
Because I was living in Wiltshire. I'd I'd get the kids and say, right, we're going to go over to Wales and buy a paper.
Right.
So we used to drive over to Wales,
yes.
the nearest point, and get a Welsh edition, because you couldn't get a Welsh edition, obviously, in England.
Right.
So go over and get one and come back.
What, over the bridge?
Yeah.
Is that all you do it for?
Yeah.
Couldn't you then spend the afternoon in Cardiff and take them to Cardiff Castle? And all
Well,
that
no,
kind of
because
stuff?
we'd have other things going on. It was just
Right.
something to do in the morning.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
We'd probably stop and have a hot chocolate or a cup of coffee or something
Yes,
at the old Seven
Well, if
Crossing.
you were the editor, couldn't you arrange for a courier to bring your paper out on Saturday?
No, because we spent all the money at the Four Seasons.
In the Four Seasons, yes, I see.
No,
Bladder
I mean,
rating.
people didn't know. See, that was the thing that you used to remember from your day in the old hot seat. But, I mean, they wouldn't bring one paper all the way to Wiltshire.
Well, they would have done if I'd have been the editor, believe me.
Yeah, you never were the editor, though, were you?
No. Listen, I had editorial.
Yeah, but you were never the
powers.
editor, were you? You never had the title editor.
Well, I was never the editor of a paper that sold 3,100 copies.
That's
no.
not what we sold.
I did, however, used to edit on Sunday papers that sold over 4 million.
Yeah. And how many copies did you lose while you were editor?
None.
Well, let's go from when you joined both of those papers.
Yes.
How much in total circulation did the papers lose?
No,
Yes, they did.
I managed to temporarily improve
Yes, they did.
circulations
Rubbish.
everywhere I went.
Absolute
No,
rubbish.
no, I didn't.
Absolute
Listen, I want to tell you about this latest survey.
Go on.
And it is very relevant. Believe it or not, it's a survey of Britain's most drunk women.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I'm not looking at you, but right now. This is bad news because, of course, I'm thinking of retiring to Northumberland. Okay, it says Geordie lasses top a shameful league table of Britain's most drunk women. They've been punished with more than £80 on-the-spot fines for nuisance public boozing than females in any other region.
Where is this?
Geordieland.
Geordieland.
Yeah. These
What
are
do you
police.
do if you get given one of those? You have to pay it on the spot.
I don't know. I've never had one for obvious reasons. I don't get bladderated in public.
No, of course you don't.
Now, an alarming total of 4,629 £80 fines, right, were dished out by Northumbria Police, which patrols Newcastle, in the last 6 years. That's getting up to about 1,000 a year, which is 20 a week.
Right. I wonder how many of the same people have got more than one.
Well, I don't know. The second worst was Lancashire, but that includes the Hen Party Mecca of Blackpool, which, has a lot of drunken women in it.
Well, what about the men?
Well, hang on. No, this is a survey on drunken
Well,
women.
they must have handed out these things to men as well.
Well, this is a survey on drunken women, which I came across.
Yeah.
3,596 of the fines gone to Blackpool.
Right.
In third place, 3,410 of the cash penalties were given out to women on Merseyside. And Liverpool's city centre array of bars and clubs lures thousands of party girls every weekend.
Now, I suppose if you weren't going to be castigated for it, it wouldn't be that surprising that those three centres were the three worst.
Well, I mean, look, for one thing, they are all city centres, Newcastle, Liverpool, and I suppose Blackpool is the...
Blackpool's not really a city,
It's
though,
not a
is it?
city, but it's the Hen Party capital of England, right? Secondly, they all have very distinctive regional cultures. Certainly, Newcastle is Geordieland, Liverpool is Scousers, Blackpool is Blackpool, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Blackpool is Blackpool.
But what's amazing is, despite the fact that London is 10 times the size of some of these cities, right, it came in fourth place.
Yeah.
All top three regions, well ahead of fourth place London, despite having far smaller populations.
But also, the thing about London is that there's a lot more people in London. So per head of population, they should probably be much further down.
No, but it's the number. It's the actual
number.
number.
Yeah, but I realise that. But the number, because of the number of people living in each of these places, means that Blackpool should probably be number one.
Maybe.
Because there's fewer people living there.
Yeah, perhaps
and
you're right.
London should be further down because
there's percentage per head.
percentage of the population.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
The rise in antisocial drunkenness by young women has been blamed on cheap booze in bars, preloading with supermarket drinks before hitting the town. One police officer said, women now can be just as bad or worse than blokes for late-night drink-fuelled antics.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with that is that since we don't know the numbers for the men, that might be a bit unfair because it looks as though you're kind of,
but I mean,
you're singling out the women.
It is disgraceful to see the way that women have such a lack of dignity in drink these days. Some women, I mean, I don't know any women like that. I don't know any women who go out and get bladderated. And frankly, if I was a young man now out and about in town of an evening, I would avoid them with a barge pole.
Like the plague?
Like the plague, I would, yeah, because, I mean, to want to be
You'd
in the
avoid
company,
them with a barge pole?
Avoid them with a
Or
barge
sure
pole.
you wouldn't touch them with one?
No, I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole, that's
Where
right.
would you get
yeah.
a barge pole, even?
Well, you get off a barge, I suppose,
Yeah,
you know what I
I
mean?
guess
But,
so, yeah.
but you know what I'm talking about. And I have to say that I do think that, I mean, in my day, when I was king of the King's Disco Chester...
King of the King's Disco?
Yeah, you know, flipping my hip and all that kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
you know. I could basically pull any, you know, young lady I wanted in Chester.
Is that
'cause
right?
I was a celebrity when I was a local, you know, hotshot
No,
newspaper
you weren't a celebrity.
reporter
You were
on
the local
Chester Chronicle.
newspaper reporter.
Yeah, but I
That's
used
not
to,
a celebrity.
Yeah, but I used to get into the nightclubs free.
Doesn't matter. It
as a
doesn't make
result.
you a celebrity.
Well, it did a bit. It did a bit, believe me, you know.
Well, Chester must be a pretty sad place, then.
You know that...
if that's the best you can do.
You know that line...
You're not even a celebrity at the King's School Chester.
You know, so.
No, you're not. There's about 15, 20 people
No,
ahead
no,
of you.
no. You know that line in the famous song, you know, every girl wanted to be on your arm.
Eh?
What was that song?
Every girl wanted to be on your arm.
Yes.
What do you mean, the Carly Simon song?
Carly Simon song. That's
You're
the one.
So Vain.
You're So Vain. That's the one. You know.
Yeah.
Well, it was a bit like that with me in Chester.
it?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
the mind boggles.
Yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying is, I would never ever have escorted a young lady who was bladderated to the point she fell off her high heels.
Yeah.
Rolling around on the ground, you know, in a most, you know, unladylike
Yes.
and rather, what's the word I'm looking for? Shocking. Vulgar, that's the word. I was looking for. Vulgar and shocking fashion.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have happened in my day. I don't know what's happened to young ladies since
Well, I
my
think
day.
partly-
In my day, they behaved like young ladies. Now
partly-
they behave like drunken yobbettes.
Partly in your day as well, the drink was not quite so readily available, and so people were not getting quite so bladderated before they went out. When they
Yeah.
went out, they didn't have
Well, I
as many
think that's
places to
true.
go to afterwards.
I mean,
I'll tell you what I saw when I was up in Manchester.
Yes.
And it wasn't that late in the evening.
Right.
I went out to get a packet of fags or something like that. And
sorry, what night was this?
this was, just before I left on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
It was
Right,
quite
right,
early,
right.
but it was a guy staggering ahead of me.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I thought, it was really quite early to be staggering that. When he was quite young, he was wearing
What time is this? 7 o'clock?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He was wearing quite skinny jeans and
Right.
stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
And I
wasn't
was
wearing
walking,
silver foil trousers.
he wasn't
then,
wearing
so
silver
it wasn't
foil trousers.
fashionable.
And as I was walking, and he was just ahead of me, and he was walking towards the entrance to the hotel, which was a temporary entrance,
Yeah.
right? And as he got to the entrance to the hotel, he started to go into the hotel, and I thought, I'm really surprised if he's staying at the hotel.
Yeah.
And of course, he wasn't staying at the hotel.
Did he go there to have a
He went
urination?
in to urinate in the
joking.
gate, yes.
And did he do it?
Yeah. And I
Well, hang
walked...
on, wasn't there a concierge guy on the door?
he wasn't there. And as I walked
disgusting.
in
Well,
behind him...
I hope you've
As I
got
walked
rid
in
of the
behind him, I
braggart.
said, that's not a very good place to do that, mate.
Yeah.
And he kind of turned round, very lazily.
Yeah.
And he went, there's nobody here.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's a hotel.
Yeah.
And he just went, and he just kind of wandered off,
Yeah, disgusting behaviour. I don't know what this
Disgraceful.
country's come to,
I know.
honestly. I really don't.
I know. He could have gone to any
Disgusting,
number of
people
places
like
further
that.
up where there wasn't an obvious opening.
I'd
Do you
have
know
kicked
what I
him
mean?
in the back while he was urinating.
Well, I didn't want to
so that
get
urine
myself-
would have gone down his trousers.
No, I don't
to
think he would. I
embarrass
don't
him.
think he would have cared.
Well, in that case, you
You
know,
can't go around attacking people for no reason.
I would attack vulgarians like that
Would
who
you?
defile our streets with their urinated habits. No, I wouldn't have that.
No, right, okay.
No, I wouldn't have that.
Jolly good. Thank you for that.
I wouldn't.
Now, we get very close to Ask Porky. If you
Okay.
haven't ever had one of your questions or your quandaries answered,
Yep.
then now's the time to do it. You can tweet it at the two mics, or you can
Okay.
send it in to Facebook. This is TalkSport.
Say, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me?
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. There's a great story I'm going to tell you about in a minute, which has been about a bit of a waste of taxpayers' money. I don't know whether you spotted this one, but how about this from Ian? He says the Severn Bridge toll is £6.60.
Wow.
So a pretty good guess from
See,
you.
yeah.
On-the-spot fines are payable immediately, or you face prosecution.
What's that
Well, why
for?
would you have an on-the-spot fine? You would just pay, wouldn't you?
No. I think he's talking about the drunkenness, isn't it?
Oh,
I think
I
he's
see.
confusing the two there.
Oh, I see. I thought
Yeah.
you meant on-the-spot fine if you don't pay the toll.
So how do you pay it? Do you pay it on a credit card or something?
Well, it'll be like the M6 toll, where there'll probably be a contactless plate where you can just stick your card on and it charges you and you go through.
suppose you're a drunken girl and you've lost your bag
Oh, I
along
thought
the
you were
way.
talking about the Severn Bridge.
No, I'm talking about the £80 fine
Well, I don't know.
for being drunk on the floor.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, if you're lying on the floor
Yeah,
pretty much,
that's right.
incapable,
Yeah.
how are you going to pay a fine of any kind?
And, your mate's either looked after your bag for you or you've left it in the pub or something like that. How
Yeah.
do the police get any sense out of these drunks and make them pay
Well,
the fines?
Well, do you remember when Tony Blair was going to have this thing, the old, the on-the-spot fines for yobbery?
March them to the cash point.
To the cash point.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
bit like the judges saying, "Oh
Yeah.
yes, I'm banning you from drink forthwith to some old, drunk." And he said that, I mean, you can't even have a small sherry before lunch.
That's absolutely right.
Absolutely ridiculous. Now, talking about the waste of taxpayers' money,
Yeah.
do you know that there's a contract that the government gives out every year to people to do driving tests? Were you aware of that?
No.
Because I was not aware of it.
No.
And it turns out that apparently the government had agreed to hire a new company called Learn Direct,
right,
which is a privately owned company which was due to begin supplying driving theory tests for the next sort of several years.
Yeah.
It was due to start later this year, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out they've now decided not to use them. Okay, the DVLA has said that for some reason they've decided to sort of go backwards on
Wrong
that. And they're going to stick with Pearson, who do it instead.
Right.
And because of that, they've now had to make a multi-million-pound settlement with this company called Learn Direct.
Even though they're doing no work.
Even though they're doing no work, because they've rescinded on the contract. Isn't that ludicrous?
It doesn't surprise me. The amount of money that politicians waste on contracts which never come to fruition, building things like computer systems which don't work, is just astonishing.
Right. It says here, Learn Direct is owned by LDC, a private equity group, which itself is part of the taxpayer-funded Lloyds Banking Group.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me
Well,
at all.
it's all a complete racket.
You know those schools that have been closed down in Scotland?
Yeah.
Because they're
Because of
falling
PFI.
apart. They're all PFI.
Yeah, I know they are.
They've all been built by
Yeah.
outside contractors.
Yeah.
And now one has fallen apart.
Right.
It's
I mean,
disgraceful.
what that tells you is that they're getting into bed with the wrong people.
It's just disgraceful. Listen, that music that brought us back onto the show, do you know who that was?
I wasn't really listening.
It was Hank Williams.
Okay.
Now, Hank Williams is the most famous country singer ever. Did you know that?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, he is.
By the way, Merle Haggard, who I told you about last week, who
Yeah.
you said you'd never heard of.
Yeah.
I found a great clip from Keith Richards saying how sorry he was to hear of Merle's death.
Well-
He's one of the greatest country singers and musicians that the world had ever known. And he said he was a fantastic guitar player as well.
I was going to go on to that. Hard-living country music star Merle Haggard, who was dubbed the Outlaw, chronicled his troubled childhood in a string of hits, including one claim that he broke out of a detention centre 17 times and was captured every time and taken back. He was a right nut. Get on to him in a minute.
Right.
But Tom Hanks is a fascinating character. I mean, he's a country singer who used to wear a very distinctive Stetson hat. Okay?
Did you say Tom Hanks just then?
What did I say?
I think you said Tom Hanks.
I mean Hank Williams.
He's played many roles.
Sorry,
Tom
not
Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
I don't think he's played a country singer.
Well, funny enough, there is an actor playing Hank Williams. That's why I'm talking about him. There's a film coming out soon, I Saw the Light, and playing Hank Williams is Tom Hiddleston.
Not Tom Hanks.
Not Tom Hanks. No. Hank.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, Hank Williams is being played by Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston is the star of The Night Manager, the man who will forever be famous for flashing his derriere whilst Rogerising one of the most beautiful women in TV.
Do you remember her name?
Denker.
Debicki, isn't it?
Debicki, that's right. Beautiful woman, 6'2" tall.
Yeah. Too tall for you.
Didn't really Rogerise it, we don't think. You know, we think it was a simulated.
I think it would have been simulated.
Yeah.
Very rare do you read those interviews with stars when they say, actually, we were really doing it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But anyway, look. What I'm saying is, this film highlights what an incredible star Hank Williams was.
Right.
For instance, did you know he died at the age of 29 on New Year's Day in 1953 while being driven in his baby blue Cadillac to a concert in Ohio.
In Ohio?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The cause was heart failure exacerbated by abuse of alcohol.
Right.
So he was a bladderizer.
I'm not surprised.
And he'd been a heavy drinker since the age of...
12.
11.
Oh, that's quite close.
Nearly close, yeah. And
Where's he from, Hank?
Hank...
Somewhere like Tennessee.
Well, hang on. Many unanswered questions about exactly what happened on that journey, not least how much he had to drink, what medication he had access to, who else was there, and exactly where on the route he died. Williams had been comatose on the back seat for much of the journey after drinking heavily and given 3 shots of painkiller. Now, this is the real story.
Yeah.
The bloke driving him didn't realise that for about 8 hours, Hank was actually dead.
Really?
Yeah. It says,
so he got to his destination and he didn't wake up?
No.
Right.
What happened was he was being driven by... He was sitting in the back seat, bloke was sitting in the front seat.
Right.
So an open packet of sedatives, which is known to slow the heart rate, was found in Hank's pocket. But by the time his teenage driver, Charles Carr, took him to hospital, Williams had been dead for 6 hours.
Damn it. Well, I suppose if you're used to a guy being comatose in the back of the car, you wouldn't think he was dead.
Absolutely. Carr, who has since died, I mean, this all happened in 1953, told the police, well, he'd been lying on the back seat for quite a long time.
Yeah.
a police officer who stopped me on the road, and some people who saw him when I pulled into a gas station said he looked dead.
Right.
But I thought they were joking, and I thought he was asleep. So I got my gasoline and kept driving.
Right.
It was only later on the journey when the temperature dropped and I reached behind me to hand him a blanket that I touched his hand and realised he was unnaturally cold, even colder than the window of the car. And it's an astonishing story, but Hank Williams, I didn't realise, you know that song we just played?
Yeah.
Hey, good looking.
Yeah.
What you got cooking?
Yeah.
How about cooking something up for me?
Yeah.
That was only one of a
I thought
string
you
of
hated
hits.
country music.
Well, I don't like country music, but...
Well, you like Hank Williams because he died of drinking too much.
Well, I just think it's amazing. He drunk himself to death in the back of a car that was driving him to a concert.
Yeah.
And the guy driving him was such a dumbbell, he didn't realise
Yeah,
that...
but that was like, I mean, the thing is, they
Yeah.
were much more kind of rock and roll than a lot of rock and roll stars are today.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny
Yeah.
Cash and all those guys, Hank Williams, even Merle Haggard, as we were talking about, he was the outlaw. And so,
Yes.
you know, you should really educate yourself a bit more about these people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point, I mean, it was so astonishing about all this, is that the Hank Williams was so famous, right, that nobody wanted to wake him up because they said, well, he's Hank Williams,
Yeah.
so what do you do?
He might get upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Isn't that amazing?
Now, here's one from Roy, who says, classic hypocrisy from Porky, criticises the young women of today, then says you could pull any girl in Chester.
Well-
Hashtag Porky slappers.
No. I mean, all I meant was that, you know, a lot of girls there who wanted to spend a bit of time in my company.
Huh.
Oh, to answer your question,
Yeah, go on.
Williams died 5 days before his daughter, Jet, was born. She was named Anthony Belljet and adopted by his mother, Lillian Stone, in their hometown of Montgomery, Alabama.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Montgomery, Alabama. There you
Yeah.
go. Here's one from, let's see, Simon in Immingham. You two should write a book together about your Fleet Street days. Guaranteed bestseller. He's listening live for a change.
Well, that's very kind. Who's that?
Simon in Immingham.
Immingham.
I'm not sure where Immingham is.
Norfolk?
I don't know.
Is it Norfolk?
Might be.
Immingham?
Sounds like.
I think it is Norfolk.
Nom de
yeah.
Plume in Camden says, evening MG, with regards to the drunken women's survey, has Porky got any figures to the number of drunken Fleet Street secretaries whose marriages were wrecked by the man of the people?
Well, I mean, that's nothing to do with me. I mean, if you want to know a bit more about where the top places are, I've told you the top three, but West York's is pretty bad, 1,600. South York's 1,600.
How about Grimsby? Is that in there? Because apparently Immingham's quite near Grimsby.
Grimsby, well, that's Lincolnshire, 169. That's very low. Grimsby's very low.
Oh, right.
Diffid Powys, right? That
Diffid
was on
Powys.
your old patch of Wales.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Very low.
Very low?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Cardiff's not on there, actually.
89. Well, South Wales, which includes Cardiff, very low, 261.
Wow.
Compared to, you know, the Northumbria one of 4,600.
God, it must be bad in Newcastle and Blackpool and Liverpool.
Yeah,
then, because I know
exactly.
that when the Welsh Mirror operation was going, it was down at the Marriott.
Yes.
People would quite often look forward to a Friday night because you'd look out the window and there was a pub on the corner of St Mary Street, I think it was.
Right.
And you just watched the women having fights with each other.
Fights?
Yeah, they used to break out into fights.
What,
around
did you
about
think
midnight.
that was entertaining, watching women fight?
Well, some of the people that worked for the Mirror did. I wasn't one of them. I was usually out.
I suppose you're the sort of guy who would go along to watch women wrestle in mud, would
No,
you?
don't
you
think
know,
so.
That's
No,
the sort
it's
of
not
thing
my-
you
no,
do.
it's not my thing.
Well, I believe it
No, there's
probably
only one
is.
of us who has gone to lap dancing bars,
Yeah.
right? And that's you.
Not me.
You went to a lap dancing bar supposedly to watch an England game.
Yeah, I did. That was the only place in Soho where there was one. Until our
No.
mate Dave
Yeah, but
opened his
his place, you
sports
could have
bar.
gone to the sports bar. You could have gone there.
It wasn't there. He wasn't there.
Are you
Dave
sure?
opened his pub
When did he open it?
in Rupert Street
Yeah,
3
when?
years ago.
Are you
And
sure?
you're talking 5 years ago. Yes, I'm absolutely certain.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
I'm absolutely certain.
Okay.
Right.
Now, it's very nearly time for Ask Porky.
Yeah.
Now, we've got a preponderance of questions about your health.
Oh, yes?
So I thought we might split it into two.
Sure.
Because you don't want all your questions about health, do you?
Not really, but I'm happy to answer the questions the
Okay.
audience want to put to me.
All right, excellent.
It's not a
Well,
problem.
Coming with wisdom out of Mr. Parry that they find it hard to get out the rest of the year round, and of course he is here to help. And I've got a whole host of questions. Many of them are
Okay.
about your own healthy situation itself, but we'll bypass some of those initially and just ask you some more normal ones. I've got this one on Facebook from Mal. It says, Porky, as a football expert, who is the better player, Ronaldo or Messi? For me, it's Ronaldo, as he has conquered 3 leagues without having any of those teams built around him.
Well, I think Ronaldo's a more spectacular footballer than Messi. I think Messi understates himself in terms of his ability and his ability to promote himself. Ronaldo's a fantastic phenomenon, and to score a hat-trick in a vital game, which rescued his team from, oblivion, really, in that competition, outstanding. And I love the way he promotes himself. I love the quote that I told you about earlier, The trouble with Ronaldo is he regards Gareth Bale as his personal ball butler.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Next one. This one's from Thomas. He says, it's 6 weeks till my girlfriend gives birth. Her baby shower is on Sunday. Is there anything I need to know, or do you have any advice for me?
Well, do men attend baby showers?
Not always.
No.
I'm not, generally speaking, you would say no.
No,
but
I
maybe
think
he's
it's a
being
girl
asked
thing.
to.
Well, if it's a girl thing, I'd go off and get bladderated with your mates. I mean, why not? I don't understand these things. So if they're having a baby shower now, it means the girlfriend is heavily pregnant and 6 weeks away from giving birth, so she won't be drinking. Why do they have baby showers when you're in a state of pregnancy? You can't drink, you can't celebrate with booze.
Well, because it's about giving presents for the baby, that's the point.
Is it?
Yeah.
I
mean, everything's not about getting bladderated.
Well, a lot of things in life are about getting bladderated. If I was the chap there, I'd say it's a very good opportunity to go off and get bladderated because, of course, when your wife is getting so near to giving birth, you're supposed to behave yourself impeccably and stand alongside her. And, of course, one of the things she has to give up is alcohol in the later days of pregnancy, or, in fact, in my view, in all the days of pregnancy. And you should be alongside her giving up alcohol as well. But this is one day when you can go and blow off a bit of steam and get bladderated. I would do that.
OK. How about this one from somebody calling himself HUS? He says, if you were old MG for a day, what would you do?
Well, everything that he does, I'd do the opposite.
Well,
right?
then you wouldn't be me then, would you?
No, it wouldn't be you. No. So I wouldn't want to be you either. I'm sorry, I can't pursue that question. I would not want to be in the mind of MG.
You've been flummoxed by a question.
I would certainly not want to be in the body of MG, and I certainly wouldn't pursue the sort of alley cat lifestyle of MG. Do you think I'd want to stick 40 cigarettes in my mouth in the space of 24 hours? Do you think I'd want to be chasing up skirt and all kinds of things like that and drinking, copious bottles of wine? Not for me, thank you.
Here's one from Ken. It's a mathematical question. What's 70% of 70?
70% of 70?
Yes.
Who wants to know this?
Ken.
Well, 70% of 70, 10% of 70 is 7.
Right.
Times up by 7, it's 49.
Correct.
Right.
Well done.
Yeah.
Iron Lion says an employee had a couple of little medical tests and he used it as an excuse to miss the next shift.
Yeah.
Shall I stop his pay?
Well, it depends to what extent he was having medical treatment. If the guy's swinging the lead, then you should hammer him, right? Because there's nothing worse than a sloth employee because it ruins it for everybody else. However, on the other hand, caring employees will find out exactly what the facts of the situation are before they hammer the man for being an idle bum.
Pierre says this on Facebook. Dear Porky, my wife is due to deliver our firstborn very soon. Any last-minute advice on fatherhood you give me would be much appreciated. It doesn't matter that you are not a dad yourself, as you are wise and experienced.
Yes, that's absolutely true. The whole point of having children is to put them before you at every turn. So, for instance, if the times are hard in terms of earning, make sure your children always have brand new trainers, even if you've got to wear second-hand trousers with holes in them.
What, you mean no matter how much money you've got?
Yes.
Oh, OK. Here's another one on a child front. You get a lot of questions on this.
Okay.
Neil says, my girlfriend would like another child. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Should I negotiate a deal for myself, i.e. a fancy laptop or a new car for myself?
What a horribly cynical way to go about raising a family. You either have the instinct to have a child or you don't. You don't go around negotiating it with laptops and other things. To me, you are a poor parent, so I wouldn't have another child.
OK. Richard says this. Does the winner of the Europa League go automatically into the group stage of the Champions League?
As I understand it, they do.
I think that's true.
And I don't care about the Europa League much, so I don't know the full details, I'm sorry.
Well, you got the only chance Everton have got of getting into Europe, so you might want to bone up on it. Paul says this. You're on death row for killing old MG. And what would your last 3-course meal be?
Funny enough, that was the opening sequence of The Accused, is it? That Sunday night programme I reviewed last week. Was it called The Accused? Was it called The Accused?
No, I don't think so.
What's it called? It's called something.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
well, it will be called something, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll watch the second episode sometime. Right, I don't like to think about that. I wouldn't want to murder old MG, despite everything that we say about each other. Anyway. No, secondly, I can't murder anybody, because if I did, God would commit me to damnation. I'd never enter the kingdom of heaven.
God.
So I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, because it would never come about.
Well, you could ask if you could imagine what your last meal would be. There's nothing wrong with that.
My last meal would be my own recipe of spaghetti bolognese.
Your own recipe?
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to cook it myself.
Which is what?
Well, it's the way I do it.
Well, you have to give your own recipe.
Well, we're not going into the recipe. I haven't got time for all that. Basically, it's mince and onion and tomatoes and basil, the herb, all mixed together and cooked up with 2 OXO cubes.
2 OXO cubes,
Yes.
very good.
Yes.
Here's one from Didcot.
Yes.
He says, Porky, are you one of the greatest living Englishmen?
Well, no, but I would love to be recognised as a great Englishman, although I don't mean one of the greatest Englishmen like Admiral Lord Nelson, like Winston Churchill, like John Lennon, like Sir Francis Drake, like Byron, like these great literary artists. However, I would like to be recognised as a man who was very proud of his country, who fought to maintain the standards that Englishmen should accede to, should hope to be able to rise to and to spread that around the world. I think Englishmen are good people. I'm proud to be one.
So you're not saying you are one of the greatest or not?
No, but I would love to be recognised as a great Englishman.
Oh, OK. How about this from Ryan? So now that Porky has probably blagged his way through another checkup, will his bladderation routine continue?
Well, I don't have a bladderation routine. Believe me, when I'm working on this show with old MG and we're coming in here, like mid-evening or later evening, I don't drink during the day. There's no point. What would I want to do that for? Because I have to have my wits about me and I have to be able to drive my car and all that kind of stuff. So if I have a few sherbets at the weekend, it is releasing the pressure of the intensity of working with MG during the week. There's nothing wrong with that. And as Dr. Nicholas Banner will vouchsafe, it hasn't done any harm to any of my organs because all my blood tests were absolutely first class, he said.
There's nothing wrong with you?
Nothing wrong with me in terms of knackering my other organs.
Yeah.
My heart is still only working at 1/3 of the capacity of other hearts, but I'm managing to survive on it.
So I see. Porky, says Darren, I'm one of the few new fathers lucky enough to be able to take advantage of the new government scheme to share paternity leave with my wife. Therefore, I'm about to start 6 weeks off work with my 9-month-old daughter.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice and ideas on things I can do with her to keep her entertained and stimulated on my extended break?
Well, I think you're crazy to take that amount of time off from work just to bring up your daughter. You'll get under your wife's feet. You'll get bored.
Well, I presume the wife is going out to work.
You'll get resentful. Maybe the wife is going out to work. But I noticed the other day that of all the husbands eligible to take maximum time off for the what's it called paternity leave.
Can't even say it.
Since it was elongated by this government, only 4% of new fathers have taken the maximum amount of time off. That's because it's not a good idea. It's another stupid government idea. Ignore it and go by your instincts. Take a few days off and then just get home early and help.
Well, he's getting 6 weeks off, so
well,
that's
he's
not
mad.
really been
You're
very
mad.
helpful at all.
I'm sorry. You'll find that that's a mistake and you want to go back to work, and that's what you should be thinking.
Richard says this, Porky, I feel like a money slave robot in a tax prison camp.
Yeah.
Am I being negative or am I just a realist?
No, that's what you've got to do in life. You see, the great thing about life is this. If you can achieve economic independence, then you dictate your terms to the world. So it doesn't matter if, the world's going to come crashing down around you, whether, economic pressures suddenly make life difficult, if geographical situations change, political geographical changes or anything like that. If you've got the money to be able to elevate yourself above that, you're in a winning position. Very, very, very few people are able to do that. That's what you should aim to do.
Lisa says, as you are a well-known expert on American politics, Porky, I'd like you to help me understand what will happen if, for the first time in decades, the Trump cruise race ends in what they call a brokered convention. Your deep understanding will be greatly appreciated.
At that stage, believe it or not, a third party could walk in and might well do it and split the vote there and take the collegiate votes that you need to become President of the United States of
Well, it
America.
means they throw it out to the floor, basically, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do.
It's
and that's
not
what
a
I'm saying.
foregone conclusion.
That's what I'm saying. A third party could walk in. It's a very complicated procedure. I don't think the world wants Mr. Trump, but I don't think the world wants Cruz either. I think we're going to end up with Hillary as president.
We shall see. Here's one from Gaul who says, I bought a house with my girlfriend recently and accidentally put a hole in the wall big enough for a baseball. How can I reconcile and calm the missus down?
Well, I'm not sure how you could have smashed a hole in the wall the size of a baseball without putting a bazooka through it.
Well, maybe you threw a ball at it or something.
Well, you couldn't get through the wall.
Well, I'll
could
tell you a story about my parents later.
I would only say that if you've got a home, you should literally make it the most important thing in your life after your marriage and after your wife and your children, because that's where you're going to spend the next 20 or 30 years unless you move. An Englishman's home... Or get divorced. An Englishman's home is his castle. I believe that sincerely, and you should make sure that your abode that you provide for your wife and your children is one to be proud of.
Here's one from Becca. How long can you be in a room with old MG before you start an argument or insult him?
It depends how much we're drinking in that room. Now, for instance, when we do a live show, we get into the dressing room before the show. Our nerves take over sometimes. We perhaps indulge a little bit too much in what we enjoy to calm the nerves before a show. However, because I was on
You didn't insult me until we got on stage.
No, I didn't. I was on a non-bladderation policy up in Manchester, and I didn't accuse them of being a wicked individual for reasons that will be explained on our next live show until we got on stage.
Porky says, Daryl, I have had a bad earache. Do I still listen to the podcast, maybe making it worse, or rest it and be bored at work?
Well, you should find out why you've got earache. People generally have earache because they've got an infection of the inner ear. Now, wax is very important in your ear. You have to have wax because wax keeps germs out of your ear. Because you've got to remember, your ear goes straight to your brain. Your ear is like the estuary of the River Mersey, in that it's the wide open space which eventually goes back to its source, and the source of your ear is your brain, and you've got to treat it very, very kindly. If there's something wrong with your ear, get it checked immediately. You might have a ruptured eardrum, and if you don't get that treated soon, it can affect you for life.
Now, here's a final one from Mark.
Affects your balance as well when you've got earache.
It does.
You get vertigo.
Well, not when you've got earache, but if you've got bad ears. I'm an expat living in Perth, Western Australia. Since the iron ore crisis, the Western Australian economy has been hit hard.
Yes.
Jobs are scarce across the board, and
Yes.
my prices have been cut by 25%. I've been offered a job in London, good money and plenty of work. Do I take the offer and move back until the West Australian economy corrects itself and possibly catch a 2 Mics live show? Or do I stay here, muddle through the tough time and wait for another resource boom?
I wouldn't sit around in hard times, pal. I'd get on the plane to London. If you've got the offer of a job there, go there. You can always go back to Perth in Western Australia and reacquaint yourself with the doctor.
The doctor?
The doctor.
Which doctor?
The doctor that comes from the town Fremantle. The Fremantle doctor.
Well, who's he?
The Fremantle doctor is a very famous wind, which sailors pick up to skim their boats across the Indian Ocean.
Oh, I see. All right, thank you very much indeed. That was Ask Porky. Loads more to come in the show, and also another Ask Porky, same time next week. This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
UEFA Champions League football on Talk Sport.
Come on!
Tonight from 7. Full updates as Atletico Madrid face Barcelona and Benfica take on Bayern Munich.
With a beautiful volley! It's a goal!
With a full-on post-match phone-in after all the action.
What a goal!
UEFA Champions League football on Talk Sport with Direct Line Van Insurance. For de facto 5-star rated van insurance, search Direct Line Van.
How about these, love?
Ah, Batura. A ceramic wood effect tile, inspired by Mother Nature like aged woods and stone. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe these tiles take their name from the Batura Glacier in South Asia.
How do you know that?
It says so in this Tops Tiles brochure.
Know it all. Be inspired by our range of exclusive tiles, plus over 20 new and exclusive products in over 340 stores and at topstiles.co.uk.
Every minute counts in the morning. Snooze button, 9 minutes. Shower, 8 minutes. Waiting for the tea to brew, countless minutes. Brushing teeth, 2 minutes. Finding your other sock, 3 minutes, but it feels like 20. But getting rid of your grey, only 5 minutes. Just for Men Original Formula makes it fast and easy to get rid of your grey. Lather in, wait 5 minutes and rinse every 5 weeks. And you're back to your natural-looking hair colour with time to spare. Just for men, just you and the look you want.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action from the giants of sport.
Shane Warne is with us on the show. How you doing, Shane?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
Into the corner of the net.
Drive home with Darren Gough and Adrian Durham.
Who else?
Weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports, the home of the Barclays Premier League.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. You can vote for winners and losers tonight until midnight, of course, tonight as well, because it's a day late. At the moment, 223 votes cast, 52-48, so pretty close.
Yeah.
And I dare say it will remain that close all the way through the day.
Well, you know, I do want to remind our listeners that whilst I'm grateful to old MG for nominating me as a winner, I do think it was a rather cynical ploy
Not cynical
to
at all.
try and tug your heartstrings again. You know what I mean? I came back in here after going under fantastic medical examination to, which is a very stressful and hard thing to do, and nominated 3 real winners and 3 real losers.
Including tigers.
Hoping, the tiger population expanding by 25% is an incredible thing in this world, and that is a winning situation.
Well, it's all relative, isn't it?
And I want you all to recognise that. Now, listen, a horrible story which I want to tell you about, because it's very relevant to the fact that you've got 2 young boys, okay?
Yeah, okay.
And it's actually relevant to me, because I used to actually pursue this pastime, and that is feeding the horses, okay?
Right.
Do you read the story about a little girl who's had a thumb bitten off feeding horses?
No.
Oh, it's awful.
You have to be very careful feeding
the poor
horses.
little thing. She's her name's Poppy, which is a lovely name, and in
Yeah.
fact, my goddaughter's name is Poppy.
Oh, really?
Well,
Don't give her name away.
Well, it's Alice Poppy.
Yeah.
I won't give her surname away. Anyway, she's 9 years of age. What's the problem?
Well, you gave her another name after I told you not to give her a
No,
name.
no, that's not a surname. A Christian name.
Well, what's her
Alice
surname?
Poppy. Oh, I'm not going to tell you her surname.
Okay.
No. Anyway, the point of the story is she loved going and feeding the horses in the field.
Right.
And suddenly her mum heard her screaming, and she went over and looked at her hand, and her thumb had gone.
Yeah.
And the horse had...
Well, the horse has got very sharp teeth.
Oh, you bet. Bitten the thumb off and swallowed it. Now, she was taken to the Royal Stoke University
So
Hospital.
they couldn't even sew it back on then?
No, of course not. She had to just undergo surgery to clean it up and sew up the wound. But they're unable to sew the missing thumb back on because it could not be found.
Right.
Her friends were sent to the field to try and find the missing digit, without success, leading them to conclude the horse had munched it down as if it were a carrot.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, Poppy lost the top half of her thumb from the...
Must be quite a sort of a grumpy horse, because, you wouldn't expect a horse to do that, would you?
Well, do you know what? And, these are sort of childhood myths and all that. But when my mum and dad used to take us to feed horses, because we lived like on the edge of the country in Chester, Cheshire is a shire county, and we'd go and feed horses, they always said you have to put the apple on the flat of your hand.
Right.
You mustn't raise any of your fingers,
that's right, yeah.
mustn't raise your thumb. You just put your flat hand out and you feed the horses, right?
Yeah.
Now, more recently... Whenever I go down to see my sister in Bournemouth or my mum in Bournemouth, we used to go and feed the horses.
Right.
Now, we don't do it anymore because, sadly, my mum fell backwards while we were feeding the horses, which resulted in her broken hip.
Oh, dear.
And at the age of 80, it was so traumatic for her, we don't go to the field and feed the horses anymore.
Yeah.
But
So what were you feeding them anyway?
Well, my mum used to chop up apples and carrots.
Yeah.
And in one bag we had carrots, and the other bag we had chopped up apples, and the horses used to love it. And they used to, every Sunday morning that I was there, I used to go like once every 3 or 4 months or something, they'd trot over and they'd recognise us and they'd love it. But you have to feed horses with a flat hand.
Yeah.
The thing is, if there's a group of horses, they get aggressive about trying to get more food.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to feed 3 horses at once, usually the bigger and most powerful horse will nudge the others out the way and try and get that food. So their jaws do snap at
Can't
you.
you just throw the food on the ground?
No, because horses can't see food on the ground.
What do you mean they can't see
They can't see food on the ground.
Well, how do you think they eat hay?
Well, hay is like big and all that, but a little apple, I'm afraid, disappears into the grass. And I don't know what it is about horses' eyes, but when a horse looks down, it can never find the apple.
You sure?
Certain. I've tried it many times.
Because I was once with the mother of my children, and we were in Scotland, not far from Balmoral.
Right.
And it was quite a cold day, I remember, and we saw a horse in the field, a bit snowy, and this horse started chewing her shoe.
Oh.
And actually almost bit through it.
Oh, dear, that's
so
terrible.
you could see the shoe.
Well, maybe the horse was hungry. But
Well,
they
yeah,
can't.
but
They
what I'm
can't.
saying is you could see the shoe.
Can't see apples. Anyway, look. What the good news is? I do have a video of me feeding horses properly.
How's that good for Poppy?
Well,
she's lost her thumb. I thought you were going to say
I know.
You've got a spare thumb or something.
No, I haven't got a spare thumb. Don't be ridiculous. What I'm saying is it might help other children in future not to have to lose their little fingers or their thumb when they're
So you
feeding
managed
horses.
to turn this tragic story into something about you.
Well, no,
so that you
no.
could put out a video of you
No.
showing people how to feed horses the correct way, because only you are the person that knows how to do it.
No, it's my helpful way of doing it.
No.
It's my helpful way
No,
of
I'm
doing
not
it.
accepting that.
What do you mean?
I'm not accepting that.
Why?
Well, first of all, who knows if it is the right way to do it?
It is the right way.
You know,
I mean,
you have to
I've
pass
never
it
had
through.
my fingers or thumb bitten
Well,
off,
that's
have
just
I?
too short, aren't they?
No, they're ridiculous.
Stubby
And
little hands.
I've been feeding horses for years.
Have you?
I like horses. They're good.
How about this from Paul? He says, the sister with 7 bathrooms won 400 quid on the Grand National. Just goes to show money goes to money, eh?
Yeah.
Hashtag family of the people.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. What I was going to say was, did you know...
So you're going to release this video of yours then, this How to Feed a Horse video?
Well, we will locate it and we'll try and put it on the old Two Mikes TV, OK?
Really?
Because I also want to do an appreciation to the Welsh Nation this week on Two Mikes TV to signal the fact that we're going off to Cardiff to do our next show there, which we're looking forward to very much indeed. Yeah. And after that, Dingwall's in London.
Yeah.
And the tickets are on sale on the2mikes.co.uk. And we're looking to bumper crowds, actually. We've had a tremendous demand for those tickets already.
Yeah.
We haven't even really talked about it yet.
Yeah, right. Well, then there'll be other announcements coming in due course. But yeah, Too Much TV, .co.uk is where to go for
That's
that.
right.
And also, if you haven't got the DVD yet, because we were still finding some people up in Manchester who wanted to buy them.
Yes.
Basically, you can get your hands on one of those or download it from twomikes.co.uk as well.
You can indeed, yeah. Yeah.
Now, here's one from David in Notts.
Okay.
He says, if Hillary wins in America, will Bill be handing out the cigars? It's a two-pronged question.
I don't think we'll address that question because I think it's got rather a sort of murky reference to it.
It might be time to get us an American expert on actually this week.
Well, maybe to see which way it's going. You could be right. You could be right.
See. Now, lots of other things to talk about. Of course, we've got. We didn't really get around to talking about the young cricketer James Taylor that much.
Shocking, but I told you that I was told about that by a doctor in the hospital whilst I was there. In the last couple of days.
Were you fed while you were in the hospital?
Yeah. But not on the first day because I had to fast.
So what was the food like?
The food's always good.
Is it?
I haven't got a problem with it. But
Well, no, I mean, you say that as if all hospital food is good, and all hospital food is not usually good.
Well, at Harefield, I've never had a problem with it.
So what did you have?
Well, it's like they are like school dinners. Right. A bit of potato, bit of meat, bit of
veg.
Yeah, carrots
Any
or something
custard?
like that. You can if you want, but I didn't have any of that. On day one, I had to fast because I had all my blood tests done, and they have to be done in fasting conditions to be able to detect cholesterol.
Yeah.
Surely
they didn't say your cholesterol levels were okay, did they?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So then how much fish and chips you eat?
Well, I haven't had fish and chips for a long time, so...
Well, you've been fasting on the fish and chips.
Maybe I have, but I haven't got a cholesterol problem at all.
Really?
No.
That surprises me.
Not at all. Well, I don't know why it surprises you. I eat very healthy foods.
You don't eat healthy foods at all?
I do.
You keep telling me you were discovering Angel Delight the other day.
My sister's told me not to eat that anymore because it's got, in addition to having incredible amounts of sugar in it, it's also got dried fats.
So when I told you not to eat it, that was not something you should take any notice
You're
of.
not a nutritionist like my sister.
Yeah, but I know an awful lot more about food.
She's a home economist.
Yeah.
She's actually starring. She's got a stall at the Christchurch Food Festival very soon.
The Christchurch Food Festival in New Zealand?
No, Christchurch in Dorset.
Christchurch.
It's a very famous food festival.
Is it? And she's starring in it?
She's hosting, a huge sort of marquee there full of food.
She's the host of the whole thing?
Well, she's the host of one part of it.
You shouldn't exaggerate on her behalf, though, like
she's
you
the
do
host
for
of one
yourself.
part of it. Yeah,
okay, maybe we should go down there.
Yeah, maybe we should, yeah. Yeah, it'd be good, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Loads more texts and
Loads of
tweets
cake
to read
to
out. You're not supposed to eat cake, are you?
Well, you can if you want.
Well, not if you're trying to lose weight. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. It'll be, I suppose it'll be Porky Vision, won't it, tomorrow?
Porky Vision, yeah.
And we'll have to figure out what the Porky quiz should be on
Porky
as well.
quiz is easy.
And what is it?
There's a celebration this year of the start of the American Civil War in 1861.
The American Civil War?
Yes.
So you'd like it to be on the American Civil War?
I think so. What do you think?
I'm always
okay.
I'm always open to suggestions. I mean, people think that I set the quiz.
Yeah.
One, I don't set the quiz.
No.
You always pick the subject.
Yeah.
And secondly, I don't set the question.
I think we'll have the American Civil War, okay?
American Civil War. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent, yeah.
Fair enough.
Now, listen, I've got to put this to you from my Journal of Experimental Psychology.
Experimental Psychology?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So what happens is, this is the...
we haven't got a lot of time,
No, I know, but this is the lack of ration in human beings, okay?
Yeah.
You are standing with three friends and a fat man on a railway bridge over a railway.
What, the guy from The Sun? The fat man?
Well, he could be, couldn't it? Yeah, a fat man, yeah. Now, you have information that a runaway train is about to come down the track below the bridge, but the problem is with the runaway train is that at the end of the track there's 5 people who are going to be killed if you don't do something to stop the runaway train.
Right.
Okay?
Well, will you call somebody?
No.
Have I got a phone?
No. What you can do to stop the runaway train is the three of you gang up on the fat man and throw him over the bridge onto the track.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do that.
Well, hang on.
How does that stop a runaway train?
Because it will.
No, it wouldn't.
It's a little train. honestly. It's only got the
like a child's train?
Yeah, a child's train. It's got a tender on it and that kind of stuff, okay?
So a child's runaway train?
Well, it's not a child's runaway train. It's a runaway train.
Right.
But it will be stopped by...
But if it's going to be stopped by a man, then it's not a very big train.
Well, it is. It is, because if any obstruction on the line will derail it, you see.
Right.
So your moral dilemma is this.
What?
We could get hold of this guy. It's unfortunate we've got to murder him. We've got to throw him over onto the line
Well, I
below.
wouldn't consider doing that.
Well,
Never.
then you know if you don't do anything to stop the runaway train, you're going to kill 5 people.
No, I'm not going to kill anyone. It's not my fault there's a runaway train.
Isn't it better to kill one person than 5? But you can save 5 people.
Well, how do you know that somebody down the line is going to stop the runaway train?
No, they're not.
Why don't you make a phone call and find out?
No, time for
just
all
call
that.
the police and go, look, I tell you what, if you can't stop the runaway train, I'm going to murder this fat guy that's on a bridge with me.
That's right. No, honestly, there's nothing you can do.
A load of old cobblers.
No, you have to make your mind up what to do. And a rational thinking person who gets it right in his head would gang up on the fat man, throw him over the rail onto the train.
No.
The train then hits the fat man and derails.
Yeah.
You've saved the lives of the 5 people
How
further
about,
down the line.
how about all the people you kill who are on the train because you derailed it?
No, there's nobody on the train.
There's no one on it?
It's just a train and a tender with the coal on the
Well,
back.
how do you know
That's
there's nobody
all.
on it, though? Who's told you?
Well, because you've got all this information.
Well, how do you know that it's going to be hitting somebody down the line?
Because there are 5 people in a carriage at the end of the line who will be smashed to pieces by the train.
Well, why don't you just switch the point so that it goes somewhere else?
No, you can't do that. This is your dilemma.
Yeah. It's not a dilemma to me.
You can stop the train with the fat man.
Can
you
you
should
stop
the
now?
train.
We've got to go to the news. This is Talk Sport. I've got about 10 seconds to explain how ducks copulate.
Well, the ducks bounce up and down on each other, actually.
Right.
That's what they do, males and females. They don't have protruding sexual organs.
So how do they
like
wear
that.
each other out then?
Well, I suppose if you've got a drake bouncing up and down on you and you're a duck, that tires you out quite a lot.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I would think.
Yeah.
Okay.